Chapter 1350. The Ninth Parallel World. The Great Tomb? The Apocalypse? Very well. Let's go, a certain Gu Qingshan said. The 10th Parallel World. Such an unprecedented challenge. I can't help but want to experience it for myself. Another Gu Qingshan said. The 11th Parallel World. Speaking of which me was it that experienced such an unimaginable event? Another Gu Qingshan asked. The numerous Gu Qingshan all turned to look at the original Gu Qingshan, who came from the Great Tomb and wielded the twin swords heaven and earth. Ah, it's you, that Gu Qingshan said. That's me, what about it? The original Gu Qingshan said. The original Gu Qingshan looked around at all the Gu Qingshan and said thoughtfully, seemed to be the strongest me. The original Gu Qingshan smiled. Do you want to come with us? Of course, the 29th Parallel World. A group of Gu Qingshan stood on top of a cliff surrounding a tomb. I am already dead in this world. One of the Gu Qingshan muttered. Xie Dao Ling replied. You're not dead. What you're sensing is a false aura of death. This aura comes from the Huang Quan realm. I happen to know a bit about it. She pulled out her whip and lashed it at the tomb. Bam! The tomb split open. A figure jumped out from the tomb. He had a cigarette in his mouth, a pen in one hand, and a stack of paper in the other, impatiently asking, What the hell? Who interrupted me? Why are there so many me's? A few moments later, that's what happened. Gu Qingshan explained everything. I'm willing to go. Wait a bit. Let me finish writing this last paragraph. He quickly finished writing a paragraph and heaved a sigh of relief. What are you writing? Gu Qingshan asked curiously. Gu Qingshan replied, Fate. What I carry is different from all of you. It is neither order nor chaos, but the original power of the law of fate within the reality gate. This ability is a brand new power that I obtained after abandoning order and chaos. Fruit of traces of fate. What's the use of this power? A Gu Qingshan asked. Whatever I write down, as long as the conditions of fate are fulfilled, it will definitely come true. Fate, Gu Qingshan replied. Can directly decide one's fate? This was too unbelievable. Every Gu Qingshan was taken aback. Gu Qingshan, who held the pen and paper, looked around at the rest of them and pondered. How interesting among all of you. I who wields those two unique swords is the strongest, but none of you are as good as I am at understanding fate. Gu Qingshan, who wielded the twin swords heaven and earth, said. If that's the case, please write something like this. The reinforcement Gu Qingshan found from a parallel world had successfully prevented the eruption of countless apocalypses in the Great Tomb. Of myriad beasts. Very well. Fate, Gu Qingshan answered without hesitation. Under the watchful eyes of Gu Qingshan, he quickly wrote on the piece of paper. The reinforcement Gu Qingshan found from a parallel world had successfully prevented the eruption of countless apocalypses in the Great Tomb of myriad beasts. As soon as these words were written, rays of light immediately rose up from the letter. All of the images were blurry, except for the two lines at the very top that formed words frowny face. To achieve this fruit of fate, the following conditions must be fulfilled. Firstly, we must gather 75 parallel worlds Gu Qingshan. No more, no less. After this line of text, the rest of the text became blurry. Fate Gu Qingshan put the pen and paper away and explained, Only after we fulfilled the first condition will we be able to see the other conditions. He took out a sword and smiled. When are we going to fight against the apocalypses? I'm already a bit impatient. Twin swords heaven and earth, Gu Qingshan cheerfully replied. Very well. With this ability, we'll be even more assured. He wielded the twin swords heaven and earth and brought everyone away from this parallel world. The 30th Parallel World. The 31st Parallel World. The 32nd Parallel World. The 39th Parallel World. The Justice Iron Fist Club. Oi, oi, oi. I know you're in a hurry, so you can only trust yourself, but I, Bali, can guarantee that no matter which parallel world I'm in, I'm trustworthy. Isn't that right? The Iron Fist, Bali excitedly said. Big brother Bali, you want to come as well? This world's Gu Qingshan asked. Of course, this is going to be very interesting. Bali clenched his fist and said. At this point, a female voice came. Me too. Everyone looked back to see a cat-eared girl walking out from the club. She had already taken off the short skirt that she was used to wearing in the past and changed into a tight combat suit. Meow. Trust me, bringing a spatial grandmaster with you will make everything a lot more convenient, Meow said. Gu Shan and the others stayed silent for a bit before nodding. Bali was trustworthy. He wouldn't die in battle. Meow was a spatial grandmaster with a unique and rare ability. Both of them were experts in fighting against the apocalypses. Gu Shan, who wielded the twin swords Heaven and Earth, said, "Then, let's go together." He cut open the void of space and led everyone away. Ah! An indistinct voice resounded from the club. With a flash of red light, Yi Fei Li appeared where everyone left. But he didn't make it in time. The group had already left. Yi Fei Li sat down on the ground and dejectedly said, "Bali, Meow, Qing Shan, today is Bill Day. What am I supposed to do if you keep hiding like this?" The 45th parallel world. I'll ask you one thing. Gu Qing Shan, do you trust me or not? Zhang Young-ho asked. And me? Do you not trust me even if we're not in the same world? Yi Fei Li asked. Twin swords Heaven and Earth. Gu Qing Shan looked at the two of them. The two of them were staring at him, each holding his shoulder, waiting for an answer. Why does everyone else say the same thing? Starting from Shifu. Let's go together. Gu Qing Shan weakly replied and cut open the void of space with her sword. The 51st parallel world. A certain cave. Such an interesting event. I'm guessing that Gu Qing Shan will take me with you, won't you? Lin casually said. She raised her hand and lightly twisted her fingers. Crack, crack, crack. The air gave off a series of cracking noises as black spatial fragments manifested. Everyone kept quiet out of fear. In the silence, Xiet Dao Ling praised him. What an excellent martial arts cultivation. Lin's expression changed, stared at Xiet Dao Ling for a bit, then began to exude killing intent. She asked, "You dare to comment on my cultivation? May I ask who you are?" Xiet Dao Ling. Gu Qing Shan is my disciple, Xiet Dao Ling replied. Lin's presence dropped, stepped forward, and smiled. So you were by Hua Saint. I've heard so much about you. Regretfully, I haven't had the chance to meet you. Right, I'm Lin, everyone. Gu Qing Shan lowered her head and swung her sword. Let's go together. The 69th parallel world. The 900 million world layers. The Azura race was currently embroiled in a great war. The flames of war spread from the strife zones all the way to the mystic zones, fighting so intensely that countless combatants were forced to flee into the space vortex to avoid getting caught up in it themselves. At the very center of the battlefield, Azura King Gu Qing Shan held her sword at the tip of Tree's nose. I told you, I wanted to let that girl go. Otherwise, I don't mind killing all of you locusts, Azura King Gu Qing Shan said. You think you've won just because you beat me? I'm telling you, that girl's fate isn't something you can touch, Triest laughed maniacally. Behind her, the gray fog covered the sky and covered the earth. Rumble, rumble. Endless rumbling and roars resounded from within the fog. Countless monsters appeared one after another. The legendary monsters of the era of chaos. Standing in front of all the monsters was the deity of chaos, with both male and female faces. The Soul Shrieker. Tis TSK, king of the Azura race. I know you're also a deity of chaos, but you're still far weaker than I am. The Soul Shrieker spoke with killing intent. Azura King Gu Qing Shan gestured for everyone behind her to be on guard. I want you to let Lola go, he said. The Soul Shrieker shook its head. Every one of her abilities are treasures of the 900 million world layers. Each of them can provide me with great help. So I won't let her go. Azura King Gu Qing Shan raised her sword. We're both deities of chaos, yet you hold such intense killing intent towards me. The Soul Shrieker suddenly smirked. Of course, the era of chaos only needs a single strongest deity. Today, right now, between you and me, one of us will return to nothingness. It took a deep breath and was about to make a soul-sucking noise when something changed in front of it. Two swords appeared. The dark void of space was cut open by the two swords. Following that, several dozen Gu Qing Shans suddenly appeared from the void of space. followed by a large group of other combatants like Lin, Bali, Miao, Zhang Youngho, Yifei Li, Xie Dao Ling. The soul shrieker froze, even forgetting to scream. Azura King Gu Qingshan glanced at Gu Qingshan in surprise. "Why are you here? And with so many people?" he asked. Gu Qingshan replied, "It can't be helped. The situation inside the Great Tomb is quite urgent, so I came to find some helpers," Azura King Gu Qingshan helplessly replied. "But I'm not done here yet, oh?" "You're not done?" Gu Qingshan asked. All the Gu Qingshans turned to look at the soul shrieker. The soul shrieker couldn't help but take a step back. It suddenly noticed that none of these Gu Qingshans were clones. Each of these Gu Qingshans carried the power of various orders, as well as the power of other laws. In short, these were all real Gu Qingshans, and each of these Gu Qingshans gave off an astonishing amount of power. The soul shrieker took another step back, feeling like it couldn't think straight anymore. In front of it, Gu Qingshan wielded the twin swords Heaven and Earth, cracked her neck a bit. "We're meeting an old foe again. How about we quickly help you deal with the matter here? What do you say?" Azura Gu Qingshan shrugged. "Of course, that's good." A second later, all the Gu Qingshan spoke in unison. Then, we'll all wait a minute. You still haven't made yourself clear." The soul shrieker abruptly shouted. Everyone froze. The soul shrieker turned to Azura King Gu Qingshan again and loudly questioned, "You started this war for Lola?" Azura King Gu Qingshan nodded. The soul shrieker spoke in an agitated tone. "Making such a big fuss over such a small matter. Why bother? Why can't we talk things over? You and I are both deities of chaos. We should resolve our conflicts through dialogue." Azura King Gu Qingshan froze and muttered, "Just now you said to Ash." Chapter 1351. There's a book right now that I'm pushing to everyone. Young Master Zhao, this book is pretty good. Please go take a look. World Apocalypse Online, push book, currently typing. Please wait a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 1352. The Great Tomb. A world filled with illusions of the apocalypse. Layers of black fog filled the air, forming a wall that surrounded Shan Haichi Xia in an empty space. Suddenly, two swords appeared from the void of space and lightly sliced down. 75 Gu Qing Shans leapt out. There were also Xie Dao Ling, Bali, Miao, Lin, and many others. Gu Qingshan gave Shan Haichi Xia a glance, telling her not to panic. "Now that everyone's here, what's the second condition of fate?" he asked. Everyone's gazes were focused on Gu Qingshan of fate. Gu Qingshan of fate took out a letter and lightly flicked it towards the void of space. Sure enough, a few more lines of text appeared on the blurry screen. Frowny face. "There are 99 apocalypses that are about to strike, 11 of which are true apocalypses from outside the reality gate. It doesn't matter how many people there are. Please think of a way to resist them. There are 3 ways in total." Gu Qingshan lightly nodded. He had never expected to win with numbers. "I'll go first. First, we can create a few worlds that are good at defending against apocalypses, using them to delay the apocalypses from erupting from this great tomb," Xie Dao Ling said. "You can create worlds, not true worlds, but rather something similar to a world's defensive barrier. This great tomb is filled with drifting world origin power, more than enough for us to create a few low-level pseudo-worlds," another Gu Qingshan said. "Other than that, since the delimitation artifact has always been used to suppress the apocalypses, we can help it forge a new body under the guidance of the artifact's spirit. That way, it will be able to do its job. We can first get rid of the apocalypses that are easy to deal with, like sealed or unsolvable apocalypses. We can challenge both of them. We have more people anyways," another Gu Qingshan said. "Twin swords Heaven and Earth," Gu Qingshan replied. "Among all of me, my cultivation is the highest, having reached Sumru Lord Realm and having 120 followers. I can link up with all of you and summon you back from the apocalypse at the first sign of trouble," Miao asked. "With such a powerful spatial divine art, why didn't you use it when you brought us through parallel worlds?" "This thaumaturgy can't be used across parallel worlds." Gu Qingshan shook her head. At this point, he had already finished speaking. He had already thought of 3 methods. The text of the Traces of Fate immediately refreshed, and a new line of small words appeared. Go and realize the 3 methods you mentioned. You will see the solution to this matter. The dark mist had been watching silently from the side until now, when it once again condensed into a sword hilt. Very well, the Wraith artifact spirit replied in satisfaction. Logically speaking, no matter how powerful the apocalypse is, it would still take time to completely devour a world. You can indeed create a few worlds to delay the apocalypse, Xie Daoling replied. Creating a world isn't a simple matter. I'll need a few helpers. The crowd of Gu Qing Shan spoke in unison. Master, let me help you. Xie Daoling suddenly appeared nostalgic and said, Let's go to this tomb to look for some materials. I seem to remember there being quite a few decent inheritances in this place. Let's go. Wait a minute, Twin Swords Heaven and Earth Gu Qing Shan said. Come, I'll give you the Sumru Lord follower. That way, if you're in danger, I'll be able to teleport you back at any time. Everyone accepted the follower from the Twin Swords Gu Qing Shan one by one. The Wraith artifact spirit silently watched, then suddenly spoke emotionally. Since you've done this much, I'll undo the seal of time. You can do as you wish. The black mist scattered. This illusion slowly faded away. The scene above the tomb river once again appeared in front of everyone. All right, let's maintain contact. We'll first create a few world embryos, Xie Daoling said. Under her lead, the group of Gu Qing Shan took flight and followed her out of this illusion. Among the remaining people, Twin Swords Heaven and Earth Gu Qing Shan spoke. Artifact Spirit, our second idea is to help you create a new body. That way, you'll be able to suppress all the apocalypses once again, the Wraith Artifact Spirit replied. That's impossible, but there are indeed some spare materials in the Great Tomb that can help me increase my power, but only humans can use them. I'll need enough people to help me obtain them, the dozens of Gu Qing Shan said. We'll go there. Expressions were all different, but there wasn't a hint of panic in their voices. Instead, they were filled with fighting spirit. Very well, that way, we'll have a bit more hope, the Wraith Artifact Spirit said. The black mist abruptly spread, enveloped the powerful Gu Qing Shan, and flew deeper into the Tomb River. There were still less than half of them left. The sword hilt formed from the twin wraiths hovered in the air, observing the remaining people. It told Gu Qing Shan, right now, you need to think of a way to deal with the apocalypses at the very front, eliminate them so that they don't affect our operation, the dozens of Gu Qing Shan replied in unison. Leave it to us, and us Bali, Miao, Zhang Youngho, Yifei Li, and everyone else also said. Then, keep in contact, let's move, let's go beat up the apocalypses. This is this Bali's specialty. Let's go, let's see who's stronger. Everyone leapt into the air and flew towards the Tomb River. Only the Twin Swords Heaven and Earth Gu Qing Shan, Fate Gu Qing Shan, Shan Hai Chi Xia, and the Wraith Artifact Spirit remained, as well as a certain Gu Qing Shan who was said to have World Apocalypse Online Cow installed. His medical expertise was the best in the 900 million world layers. They silently stared at the floating text of Traces of Fate, waiting for their fate to change. Shan Hai Chi Xia nervously asked, There's so many of you. Will this really work? Gu Qing Shan smiled and replied, I might not be able to do anything else, but over the past few years, I've gained quite a bit of experience and methods to deal with the apocalypses. Don't worry, his words carried an inexplicable sense of conviction, which made Shan Hai Chi Xia feel a bit more confident. Time slowly passed. Gu Qing Shan's expression suddenly changed as he pressed his hand against the void of space. Another hymn was summoned back. It really was a bit dangerous just now. Thank you, this Gu Qing Shan said. He once again took to the air. Gu Qing Shan lightly pressed his hand against the void of space again. One after another, him appeared, then left. Shan Hai Chi Xia once again became worried. At this point, Gu Qing Shan pressed his hand against the void again. Yifei Li was transported back. One of his arms was missing, but as the cow Gu Qing Shan performed a spell covered in a milky white holy light, his arm was quickly restored. Yifei Li couldn't help but chuckle. Looking at this man with a clean appearance and a bit nervous, Shan Haichi Xia couldn't help but ask, "What are you laughing at? You know you almost died just now." Yi Fei shook his head, then continued to chuckle. "Have you ever played a large-scale adventure game before?" "What's that?" Shan Haichi Xia was confused. Yi Fei patted the twin swords heaven and earth, Gu Qing Shan, and said, "This is the save point." He then patted the cow, Gu Qing Shan. "This is the resurrection point." Patting Gu Qing Shan's shoulder, Yi Fei continued, "This is the real-time guide." He abruptly looked up to the sky and laughed maniacally. "Ah, tell me, how do we lose?" After saying so, a pair of crimson wings extended from his back. All right, this really is a decent place to level up. I'm going to kill all the monsters." Yi Fei excitedly licked his lips, a hint of madness appearing in his eyes. He turned into a crimson streak of light and flew towards the depths of the Tomb River again. After Yi Fei left, the Wraith artifact spirit said, "In truth, there are a few true apocalypses deep within the Tomb River that you really can't deal with. Don't worry. We'll think of a way to prevent those apocalypses from being unleashed." The twin swords heaven and earth, Gu Qing Shan replied. "Not giving them a chance to unleash? Is this your usual fighting style?" the Wraith artifact spirit asked. "Always," Gu Qing Shan replied. The Wraith artifact spirit didn't say anything else. Time slowly passed. Luo Bingli's voice suddenly resounded from the heaven sword. "Gu Qing Shan, the infinite world warp is about to end. What's going on?" Gu Qing Shan asked. The 8 components of the eternal abyss slowly manifested from the void of space. They were in a damaged state. The Earth Sword's mountainous heavy voice resounded. "Originally, we could only allow you to travel between parallel worlds by yourself," Luo Bingley replied. "But you've taken away many individuals with souls from parallel worlds, and these individuals are closely linked to the fate of each parallel world. To suppress this chain reaction, the 8 components are already at a point where they can't hold on much longer," the Earth Sword replied. "Once the 8 components are completely damaged, these people will immediately return to their original worlds." As Gu Qing Shan was about to say something, his expression changed. He tapped the void of space again and again. One after another, he appeared, placing various unique treasures and materials on the ground. "All replacement materials have been gathered. Now it's up to you," they told the Wraith artifact spirit. The Wraith artifact spirit flew up and absorbed all the treasures and materials into itself. It shouted in a low voice, "Enough! I will temporarily have the power of my peak state. Enough to suppress the apocalypses here." With a flash of light, another group of Gu Qing Shan and his friends returned. "Ah, how satisfying. We've already killed all the apocalypses that could be killed. The rest are no match for us." Bali swung his bloodied fist. Following that, Gu Qing Shan continued to tap the void of space. The void of space was broken. Xie Daoling and the group of Gu Qing Shan also returned. "We've used the world origin to create 15 pseudo-worlds specifically to stall for time. They aren't true worlds, but the apocalypses will definitely need a long time to completely destroy them," Xie Daoling said. No one said anything else. They all turned to the fate text. The runes of fate that were floating in the air finally began to change. "The apocalypses within the Great Tomb are temporarily unable to erupt, but to completely resolve any future problems, you must complete the final step. Go to the Wraith Realm and retrieve the main body of the Divine Sword." While everyone was watching, a series of noises resounded from the void of space. The 8 components of the twin swords heaven and earth, Gu Qing Shan, were slowly breaking apart and falling off. Everyone quickly understood. Miao was the first to step forward and patted Gu Qing Shan's shoulder. "It's time to part ways. Seems like I'll have to leave the rest of you alone." Bali put his fist on Gu Qing Shan's chest and encouraged her. "You're a member of our club, as well as the Pride of the Blade Edge Pledge. Go ahead and do it." Zhang Young-ho took out a bottle of liquor and gave it to Gu Qing Shan. "Have a few sips before the battle. I guarantee you'll be able to kill as much as you want." Yi Fei was a bit reluctant to leave, so she said, "Seems like I won't be able to deal with the Wraiths. Those bastards are causing trouble everywhere they go. How annoying." Gu Qing Shan, You can't let them get too complacent. Xie Dao Ling stepped forward and looked at Gu Qingshan with a serious expression. Although this is a different parallel world, you must remember well, Bai Hua Sect's reputation cannot be easily lowered. Sure, Fu. Please get to the point, Gu Qingshan said. Get rid of them. Understood. Everyone's figures slowly disappeared into the void of space, returning to their own worlds. A young girl came forward, curiously looking at Gu Qingshan. Were you the one who saved me in your world? Lola asked. Gu Qingshan smiled and replied, No, I wasn't the one who saved you. We fought side by side and defeated Trieste. The confusion on Lola's face gradually disappeared, turning into a smile at the corner of her mouth. Azura King Gu Qingshan also came forward and smiled. Do your best. You'll have to rely on yourself for the rest, Gu Qingshan replied. Don't worry. He clasped his fist to everyone. The void of space flashed. Everyone from the parallel world disappeared from the Tomb River. Chapter 1353. Everyone had already left. Gu Qingshan stood still, pondered for a bit, then said, Seems like I'll have to make a trip to the Wraith Realm, the Wraith Artifact Spirit replied. Indeed, you must bring my main body back. Only then would I be able to keep those apocalypses sealed, Gu Qingshan said. Shan Hai Chi Xia. Return to the Tomb of Myriad Beasts first. I'll come find you after I've retrieved the sword. Shan Hai Chi Xia was a bit hesitant. Gu Qingshan then turned to the Wraith Artifact Spirit and asked, How many of the traitorous guards are still alive? I've sent them into a powerful apocalypse and killed them, the Wraith Artifact Spirit replied. Very well. Gu Qingshan turned around, grabbed Shan Hai Chi Xia's hand, and pressed it down. From now on, no one in the Tomb of Myriad Beasts will have their souls replaced. Furthermore, I'm quite proficient in disguise and infiltration. So just return to the Tomb of Myriad Beasts and wait for me. Shan Hai Chi Xia's expression changed a bit, then said, All right, she took out a small bell, lightly shook it, and silently chanted an incantation. Gu Qingshan smiled. You have my communication talisman. We'll keep in touch. Shan Hai Chi Xia nodded, then slowly disappeared. She had returned to the Tomb of Myriad Beasts. Only Gu Qingshan and the Wraith Artifact Spirit remained. I'm going to the Wraith Realm. Do you have any way to help me? Gu Qingshan asked. Take this, the Wraith Artifact Spirit replied. A handful of fine black sand appeared out of nowhere, hovering in Gu Qingshan's hand. This is the highest grade restrictive treasure artifact in the Great Tomb. Just take it. It'll be fine as long as you can find my main body and place this treasure artifact on it. You'll be able to sever all of the Wraith's restraints on my main body and directly take it away. Gu Qingshan received it, glanced at it, then replied, All right, then I'll be leaving, for the next few days. I'm preparing to completely seal the Great Tomb, not allowing anyone to enter or leave to avoid any further dangers, the Wraith Artifact Spirit replied. Gu Qingshan touched the 9 Serenities incantation jade tablet and felled it. Sure enough, salted fish Gu Qingshan was no longer in the tomb. What if I bring your main body back? Gu Qingshan asked. If that happens, I'll naturally be able to sense it. I'll open the great necropolis then, the Wraith Sword Spirit said. Very well, I'll be leaving now, Gu Qingshan said. The Wraith Artifact Spirit replied. How about this? I'll take you to a large-scale world near the Wraith Realm. That place is a trade world where both good and bad people mingle. People from all over the infinite worlds trade there. Even those from the Wraith Realm have to follow the rules of trade there. It couldn't be better, Gu Qingshan said. You're a very resourceful person. I don't need to say anything else, the Wraith Artifact Spirit replied. A layer of black mist shrouded Gu Qingshan's body and enveloped him. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. Shan Hai Chi Xia returned to the Western Sea Grotto. Li Chun Dao and Wang Shun, who had been waiting for a long time, came up to her and asked in shock, Sect Master, where are the others? Shan Hai Chi Xia shook her head and whispered, Follow me. She led the two of them to the center of the school, the bookkeeping room. In the main hall of the bookkeeping room, she lightly pressed a button at a hidden location. A dark and gloomy tunnel opened up. Don't say anything. Follow me, Shan Hai Chi Xia curtly said. The two of them exchanged glances, but she was already flying deeper into the tunnel. Li Chun Dao and Wang Shun had no choice but to follow. The heavy gate closed behind them. The glow of countless runes flashed briefly before vanishing. Even if they wanted to return now, there was no way to do so. The three of them followed the secret passage, passed through an underground river, went through a series of winding underground passages, and finally arrived at a secret room. Shan Haiqi Xia cut her finger and pressed her blood on the door. A few moments later, the door opened to both sides, scattering dust everywhere. Shan Haiqi Xia led the two of them inside, then stood in the middle of a simple courtyard. There was a long table made of vines here, with several dozen empty chairs around it. Completely empty. Li Chun Dao and Wang Shun were both confused. They never knew that there was such a long passage below the bookkeeping room. Where exactly is this place? Just listen and don't say anything, Shan Haiqi Xia told them. Yes, Sect Master, the two of them replied. Shan Haiqi Xia took out a candle, lit it, then placed it on the table, then found a place to sit down. A few moments later, figures slowly appeared on the empty chairs. Of the 8 grottos of this world, Western Sea isn't particularly strong, but since it's Shan Haiqi Xia, I'll have to pay a visit. A dignified voice resounded. Li Chun Dao and Wang Shun followed the voice, only to find that the figure was extremely familiar. Suddenly, they recalled a certain person. The former island master of Nanlong Island, a peerless combatant who went insane 300 years ago, then disappeared without a trace. While the two of them were surprised, they heard another voice. It's Shanghai girl. This great one would naturally have to pay a visit as well. After all, she was the only one who survived. He didn't continue. An old man with a sorrowful expression appeared on the chair. Whitehead Venerable, Li Chun Dao exclaimed in shock. Wang Shun's expression also turned pale. Whitehead Venerable, one of the strongest people in this world, but because he hadn't learned the inheritance to its peak, he was ranked below the other 4. He had once suffered heavy damage to his vitality during a famous battle, never to recover, and was rumored to have died a long time ago. Who would have thought that he would still be alive and appear here? More and more people appeared. Almost every chair had someone sitting on it. In an instant, the deathly silent courtyard was once again filled with lively voices. All the seats were taken. Li Chun Dao and Wang Shun stood behind Shan Haiqi Xia, completely numb. Too many legendary figures had actually appeared here. What exactly is going on? They turned to Shan Haiqi Xia, only to see her calm expression, as if she wasn't thinking about anything at all. Very well, quiet down. An old voice called out. This voice seemed to carry a lot of authority, as everyone immediately went silent. The old voice asked, Shanghai Sect Master, the apocalypses have been rampant recently. Although we've been hiding in the shadows, we've also been putting out the fires everywhere. What exactly is the reason for your sudden emergency summon? Complete silence. Every combatant was staring at Shan Haiqi Xia. Shan Haiqi Xia finally spoke up. In the name of our entire tomb of myriad beasts, I have formed an alliance with a single person. The old voice calmed down and asked, You're the only one among us to succeed, so you certainly have the qualifications, but I want to know, why exactly did you do this? And who is that person? Shan Haiqi Xia's expression was a bit mocking. She recalled everything that Gu Qingshan had done. Truly, even now, when she thought about it, she still felt that it was impossible. In fact, just before they parted, he even took the opportunity to silently put a jade tag in her hand. Although this was a cultivator's item, there were no seals on it, so it wouldn't be too hard for Shan Haiqi Xia to learn what was inside. The jade tag contained several particularly powerful inheritances, as well as 3 lines of text. Frowny face. For now, there are no longer any entities that can replace your souls. You can be assured of this. However, all things are unpredictable, and the sword spirit cannot be trusted. Your tomb of myriad beasts must prepare for battle at any moment, as well as retreat at any moment. Remember, wait for my news. Shan Haiqi Xia suppressed the unease in her mind, regained her composure, and said, My ally is the sword saint Gu Qingshan. The reason for this is because she slowly began to recount everything that had happened recently. The faint candlelight illuminated Shan Hai Chi Xia's beautiful, yet exhausted expression. At this point, every combatant hiding in the shadows of the tomb of myriad beasts had gathered in one place. Within the darkness, they stared at the single lit candlelight, silently listening to everything that had happened recently. At another location, Gu Shan appeared in the middle of a wilderness. He landed on the ground, released his inner sight to silently investigate, then immediately flew towards a large city in the distance. On his way, he took out the silent dust cloak and donned it again. This cloak was capable of suppressing the Black Dragon's power and isolating all powers. Back when he killed the magic dragon, he had been wearing it on his back. But after he undid the magic dragon's power and killed 3 dragons, he no longer needed this cloak. Now, in order to hide his figure and appearance, he once again draped it over his back, flipped up the hood, and put it on his head. Gongzi, there's no need to worry about the apocalypse for now. So why do I feel like you're feeling even heavier now? Shanu asked. Gu Shan smiled and replied, To be honest, I don't really like dealing with the people of the Wraith Realm. Why not? Shanu asked. Gu Shan looked down at the clump of black sand in his hand. This was the treasure that the Wraith artifact spirit gave him, one that could be used to remove all restraints and take away the main body of the divine sword. But a line of glowing text remained untouched on the war god UI, frowny face reincarnation spirit devouring sand, a spirit slaughtering treasure, a treasure unique to the Samsara. This sand would kill the artifact spirit upon contact. Be careful, be careful. Gu Shan carefully put this clump of black sand away. He really did help me a lot, and he did his best to stop the apocalypse from erupting, so there shouldn't be any issues with this artifact spirit. Could it be there are 2 artifact spirits? Gu Shan muttered. Chapter 1354. Gu Shan changed her appearance and stood at the bottom of the city. Void City. The countless worlds of the void, billions of combatants were all here to show their sincerity. This was a huge city. Under the night sky, the metallic black city wall reached all the way to the sky, without an end in sight. Only by using inner sight could Gu Shan see the top of the city wall above the sea of clouds. At this time, at the top of a certain part of the city wall, a spaceship several hundred meters long was docked at the edge. Many professionists were busy unloading goods from the ship. Gu Shan saw a Yama King realm cultivator among the unloading group. He's unloading goods at such a realm? Gu Shan's inner sight scanned through the goods, only to see that the goods were fragments of unknown things. Some of them didn't react at all after being lifted up. Others directly flew into people's bodies. There was even a gem that exploded in midair, turning into a group of wandering ghosts that directly killed the unloader and began to devour the corpse. The other unloading group acted at once and killed the ghostly figure on the spot. Each unloading group had to use their own methods to suppress the goods they were unloading in order to move them. This was truly a dangerous job. Gu Shan's inner sight stopped for a bit, but it caught the attention of the Yama King realm cultivator. When the Yama King realm cultivator released his inner sight, he found that the other party's inner sight was so powerful that he was almost certain to be a Sumru Lord realm cultivator. So he dispelled his killing intent. He sent his voice. A word of advice: do not use your inner sight to check on others after entering the city. Otherwise, your excellency will only die. Saying so, he casually formed a hand seal. Gu Shan felt a slight pain in between his eyebrows, then couldn't see the scenery above the sea of clouds anymore. His inner sight was cut off. So unfriendly, he muttered. A werewolf in front of him glanced at him and spoke with a coarse voice. Are you talking to me? I'm not. Gu Shan immediately denied it. The werewolf glared at him before turning away. Gu Shan continued to follow the long queue. Actually, the speed of entering the city was quite fast. Every 10 minutes, someone would come and let a group of people through the city gate. Soon, it was Gu Shan's turn. A guard at the city gate walked over and shouted impatiently, In a while, all of you will be at the city gate. Those who can withstand one blow will enter the city. Those who can't will die. Leave your corpses here and use them as fertilizer in the future. Do you understand? If you're clear, then come. If you regret it, then scram. A group of people followed the guards to the city gate. The werewolf looked at Gu Qing Shan and smirked. Weak as a feather if you don't want to die, then hurry up. Begin, the guard shouted. A ray of green light quickly swept past everyone. Pah! Gu Qing Shan felt like she had been punched lightly. This level of strength was only SOSO. The next second, the werewolf was sent flying by the beam of light and fell to the ground dead. Apart from it, 5 or 6 others had also died. Several guards came forward and dragged their corpses away. The guard who shouted waved his hand dismissively and said, "That's enough. Those who are still alive have passed the lowest level of strength test. Enter the city. Remember to exchange your coins first." Gu Qing Shan followed the group into the city gate. Obviously, the Wraith Realm's entry method was very strict, so the Wraith Artifact Spirit wasn't confident that it would allow me to directly enter. It was said that this was a large-scale trading world, and it was very close to the Wraith Realm, so the Wraith Artifact Spirit was able to transport me here. Gu Qing Shan silently thought, then quickly arrived at the place where the coins were exchanged. A monster that looked like a toad walked out, facing the group of people who had just passed the city's entry test. Let me explain a bit. The coins of Void City are all forged from the 3rd fragment of the legendary Traveler's Artifact. Each of them contains miraculous power, someone cut in, like the coins of the strife zones of the 900 million world layers. The toad monster glanced at him and said, "The coins of that place are forged from the 5th fragment of the Traveler's Artifact. They're different from ours. Remember, their coins cannot be used here." After saying so, he returned to his seat and waved his hand. "All of you, come here one by one. Take out your things and exchange them with me. Don't say I didn't warn you. After entering Void City, you won't be able to do anything without money." Everyone had no choice but to line up and exchange their coins one by one. Gu Qing Shan fell into thought. Space-time coins have a long list of names, one of which is Fragment of the Traveler's Artifact. I didn't think there would be a Fragment of the Traveler's Artifact here as well. But what exactly is this Traveler's Artifact? Where does it lead to? While she was thinking, a commotion broke out in front of her. The toad monster had killed a ghost-like entity. Remember, there's one more thing I forgot to tell you. The toad monster gestured for the guards to drag the ghost-like entity away, then continued. Entering the city without bringing enough money is the same as wasting our working time. This is the crime of deceiving government officials. You will be executed. Someone unwillingly shouted. You can't enter the city without money? What kind of rule is that? Another person followed up. That's right. I heard that Void City was recruiting a large number of talents. I never heard that you had to bring so much money with you. The toad monster coldly laughed. Money is the lowest measure of your worth. Without money, you can't even eat. What right do you have to talk about anything else? If you don't even have money, entering Void City would only be adding another corpse to the city, where you could challenge me. The winner will naturally be allowed to enter the city. The loser will have to apologize. Next. The next person in the group to enter the city was a rich one. After exchanging coins with the toad monster for a while, his face gradually filled with a smile. When this person entered the city, the toad monster actively stood up and respectfully said, "Take care, sir. Humph. I hope you won't disappoint me here." The person coldly replied. The toad monster wasn't angry and simply smiled. Don't worry, whether it's information on the Eternal Abyss and the Wraith Realm's war situation, or if you want to buy a few trending immortal crafts, or if you're looking for powerful void monsters to act as your hired thugs, as long as you can afford it, there won't be any issues. That's good. The person happily left. Gu Qing Shan fell into thought. Originally, I only wanted to make a temporary stop here, then quickly head to the Wraith Realm. But now, this place is worth staying for a bit. He made up his mind and quickly thought about what valuable items he had on him. I obtained his bracelet from Wraith, Might Song Wu Zhang. There are quite a few good things inside, but this world is too close to the Wraith Realm, so these things might cause trouble. In short, there are many techniques that can be used to investigate the origins of items. For the sake of caution, I can't take these things out. Then I can only Dash come. Next, the toad monster impatiently called out. Gu Qing Shan stepped forward. Hello, hello. How much do you want to exchange? I choose to fight. You said you want to fight me? The toad monster's eyes slowly squinted. Gu Qing Shan smiled and replied, Everything I have on me is useful, so I can't give it to you. So I'll have to fight. Seeing his calm demeanor, the toad monster suddenly felt a bit hesitant. With these glasses alone, those people from before only needed a single glance to know how strong they were. This brat actually has a good cloak that directly conceals his strength, making it hard to judge. The toad had no choice but to take out a pair of glasses and put them on. His fighting strength isn't bad at all, he silently thought. The toad then muttered, You detestable bastards. All of you are filled with killing intent. Do you all want to enter the city and commit murder? He took out a few copper coins and placed them in front of Gu Qing Shan. What are you doing? Gu Qing Shan didn't understand. This city is recruiting talents from all over the world. Someone with such a strong killing intent like yourself does fit our recruitment criteria. According to the city's rules, you should be given a bit of relocation allowance, the toad grumpily replied. I didn't know there was such a good thing. Gu Qing Shan smiled. He reached his hand out to take the money on the table. Wait a minute. Aside for the relocation allowance, there's also a different recruitment fee, the toad said. What do you mean? Gu Qing Shan was intrigued. The toad replied, I can only roughly estimate your strength. If you're willing to let me check your fighting strength a bit more, I'll know how much recruitment allowance I should give you. Saying so, he took out a small device that looked like a camera and gestured it to Gu Qing Shan. Gu Qing Shan received it, glanced at it, and happily said, Come on, just go ahead and investigate. He's never one to refuse money from others. Get ready, smile a bit. The toad raised the camera, aimed it at Gu Qing Shan, and clicked it, only to see something that looked like a picture sliding down from the bottom of the camera. The toad took a look at the picture. It was The toad shouted, hurriedly stood up, and took out a bag about the size of a palm from behind. Sir, you're a top-notch talent. I welcome you on behalf of Void City. It bowed and put the bag on the table with both hands. As the bag made contact with the table, it let out a series of clanking noises, dense and pleasant to hear. Sir, please come in. The toad bent down and gestured with its hand. Gu Qing Shan took the bag, nodded to it, and entered the city. Behind him, everyone curiously looked at the picture. The picture depicted a human head with a snake's body and bones, with a few lines of text below: frowny face, most recent monster killed by this profession. Unknown, rank, SSS, drawing the title of the profession. One of the titles is Inheritor of the Thousand Dragons Ancestor. Chapter 1355. Give me a drink. What would you like to drink? This is my first time entering Void City. Please give me something suitable for humans, and also tell me a bit about this place. After saying so, Gu Qing Shan put a silver coin on the table and pushed it over. Looking at the coin, the bartender smiled. This coin was worth far more than just a glass of liquor. It could be considered as the best tip of the day. The bartender put the coin away, quickly mixed a glass of liquor for Gu Qing Shan, and said, This is a glass of flame lust, our signature liquor here. Many humans and void monsters alike enjoy it. Gu Qing Shan raised the glass, only to see that the transparent glass was filled to the brim with a faint reddish-orange liquid that almost looked like molten lava. Gu Qing Shan took a sip, gave the bartender a thumbs up, and smirked. Good liquor. It's been a long time since I've had such a strong liquor. Saying so, he continued to sip. The bartender's smile grew even wider. It was always a happy thing to hear someone praise their work. The bartender looked around. It was still early, so the bar's peak customers hadn't arrived yet. Only 2 to 3 people had found a booth, drinking while talking about something. At a time like this, it wasn't a big deal to chat with a newcomer. Listen, newcomer, I can roughly tell you about Void City, Jiang Chun said with a smile. I'm all ears. We'll start with what everyone knows. As you know, the space vortex is boundless, but there's a place that can help anyone leave this space vortex. That is the legendary reality gate. Gu Qing Shan put the glass down. Who would have thought that the first thing he said would be what he wanted to hear? He calmly replied, That's right, Everyone knows about this. Please continue." The bartender didn't mind and continued. "The reality gate is in the hands of the eternal abyss, but it's in slumber. Normally, it doesn't care about those who are too weak, so some people would try to sneak into the reality gate and think of a way to leave the space vortex. In the end, none of the people who went out of the world gate came back. Even those who were sent to investigate the situation didn't come back. Now, aside from those madmen from the samsara, almost no one else has any designs on the world gate. After all, even in the chaotic streams of space, as long as we can survive, it's better than going out and seeking death." "That's true," Gu Qing-shan agreed. The bartender explained, "When the majority of existences gave up on leaving the space vortex, they began to focus on their own development. Our void city became a trading world recognized by the various forces in the endless void. This world was responsible for allowing all great existences within the space vortex to communicate and trade, receiving the protection of all forces. That's why we all wanted to come to Void City to try our luck," Gu Qing-shan said in a timely manner. The bartender showed an expression of agreement and said, "That's right. Who wouldn't want to go to Void City? This place has all the things that living beings dream of, all information regarding the space vortex, as well as treasures that you wouldn't believe. And listen, newcomer, you will need an official identity. Because in this city, every newcomer will receive the protection of the various forces. However, this protection only lasts for a day. If you still haven't obtained an official identity after a day, the city will no longer protect you." Gu Qing-shan shrugged. "Having an official identity means that I have a place to belong and receive the recognition of the city. Is that right?" "Indeed. If you don't have an official identity, it means that your value isn't enough. This city will refuse to accept you. Because of that, you will—" The bartender showed an inexplicable smile. "Become a slave, a commodity, or something like fertilizer," Gu Qing-shan added. "You are a smart person. I hope that you will be able to obtain an official identity soon." The bartender praised her, then turned around to serve the other customers. Gu Qing-shan followed the bartender's figure, only to see a man wearing a yiksha mask, as well as a monster with 5 heads whose body was hovering in the air. "What would the two of you like to drink?" the bartender respectfully asked. The man took off his yiksha mask and replied, "The best liquor." The bartender poured 6 glasses of liquor and gave them to the two of them. Gu Qing-shan didn't continue watching. There were quite a few Wraith Realm people active in Void City, including Azuras. Not just the Samsara, but the Void races and even combatants of the 900 million world layers were also active here. Gu Qing-shan finished his drink, turned around, and left the bar, walking on the wide street. Along the way, he passed by many strangely shaped buildings, all of which belonged to the various Void organizations. It had already been half a day since he entered Void City. In another half a day, I'll become an unprotected entity. The most important thing right now is to obtain an identity. But where am I going to find an identity? The organizations and merchant guilds are all supported by powerful Void monsters, so they all have a clear goal in mind when they act. Do I really have to work for a Void monster? Gu Qing-shan shook his head, turned around, and entered a secluded alleyway. He searched his thoughts for a bit and took out a certain item. The colorful rooster. After pulling on its comb, the rooster slowly woke up. "Long time no see. Are you here for business or some fun?" The rooster yawned and asked with sleepy eyes. Gu Qing-shan replied, "I'm currently in Abyss City, so I need to find a job or something to obtain an identity. So I wanted to ask if you have any information." The colorful rooster became spirited and replied, "You've found the right person. In truth, it should be a simple matter for a handsome man like you to find a job. For example?" Gu Qing-shan humbly asked. The rooster replied, "You've transmigrated and reincarnated. Both your face and skin are immature and immature. Combined with your old soul that's experienced the vicissitudes of life, it's easy for you to become a fatal temptation. How about you go to a nightclub in the East District? I'm sure there'll be some pretty ladies there." Gu Qing-shan sternly said, "Stop. I want to find a proper job," the rooster replied. "You can clearly rely on your face, but you want to rely on your talents? That's fine. With that dragon ancestor technique of yours that can't be touched by anyone you call, as well as your ruthless black-hearted nature, you can easily become a hired thug. I guarantee you that you'll be able to do a good job. Gu Shan looked at the rooster and casually said, and I even prepared a large amount of soul points for you, so that you could enjoy the nourishment of soul points. But now it seems I should consider keeping a portion of it. Don't. Please don't. The rooster hurriedly shouted. It flapped its wings and hurriedly asked, do you still remember the Hitman Guild? Ah, I remember now. Gu Shan recalled for a bit and slowly replied. The Hitman Guild, when I first formed an alliance with Lin, I needed to buy medicine for her wounds, as well as a place to stay and eat. Since I didn't have any money to spend, I once disguised myself as an evil creature and became a hitman. Later on, when I became an intermediate-level hitman, the fake corrosion of the parallel world broke out. Under my protection, the head of the Hitman Guild managed to escape from that world with all the wealth and intelligence of the branch. I've done a great service for the Hitman Guild. The colorful rooster said, I'll remind you, the current time we're in is exactly the 3rd day after that world was corroded and destroyed. Buddy, the Hitman Guild's HQ is located in Void City. Walk 700 meters to the west, take a left turn, cross 2 streets, and you'll see it. If you have any more questions, please take out your Hitman badge and take a look. You'll understand hearing that. Gu Shan took out the intermediate-level Hitman badge from his Thought Sea. He had already forgotten about this item. Gu Shan pressed a certain spot on the badge. The badge was activated. A pleasantly surprised voice came from the badge. Intermediate-level Hitman Yi Fei Li, you really didn't die? At the time, Gu Shan's codename was Yi Fei Li. Gu Shan didn't answer right away. He looked around to make sure there was no one around before he fully covered himself with his cloak and activated Mystery of All Beings Equal. A few moments later, he turned back into the evil creature that he disguised himself as before. Mimicking his previous tone, Gu Shan replied, I'm still alive, and I've already reached Void City. Very good, very good. Quickly report to the Hitman Guild's HQ. Understood. Chapter 1356. The Hitman Guild's HQ. The meeting room. A screen of light turned on, displaying the image of a fiend. Long red hair, a single horn on his head, his appearance was similar to a human's, his fangs ferocious. He was wearing a black cloak, a sword silently hovering next to him. Intermediate-level hitman, codename Yi Fei Li, a fear fiend among the fiends. Profession is a demon armament stealthy killer. Expert in controlling weapons to attack from afar, her telepathic abilities are also excellent. Never once failed. 3 days ago, the location where many of our important information and treasures were stored, the seaside world, was corrupted by a parallel fate and completely destroyed. At the time, all the other hitmen were killed. This fear fiend was tasked to buy time for our leader, allowing her to escape and successfully redeem the guild's heavy losses. And now, this fear fiend has also safely returned to Void City. Let's discuss what kind of reward we should give him. Hearing that, the higher-ups of the Hitman Guild fell into thought. Never once failed? Is there any record of his battles? One of them asked. Yes. Let's see. A flash of light. The footage of Gu Shan unleashing her flying sword in the Hitman Guild was shown. TCH, from the looks of it, he shouldn't be at the level of an intermediate-level hitman. Why do we only give him an intermediate-level hitman badge? Someone asked. The host of the meeting replied. He had only just joined the guild not too long ago. From the perspective of time, he still hasn't been promoted. These words drew everyone's attention. Have you investigated his intentions of joining the guild? Someone asked. We've tested this with the Stone Horse. He's clearly a money-hungry fiend. Every time he acts, it's for money. Everyone chuckled and relaxed a bit. That was how fiends were, spending their entire lives believing in power, money, and violence, then using them to weave traps and tempt living beings. In truth, while fiends are tempting others, they themselves are also easily tempted. I suggest giving him a large amount of money as a reward. After all, that would be the best way to win him over, someone said. Another person added, other than money, he probably has a certain interest in increasing his own rank. After all, with his skills, he should at least be an assassin of a higher rank. After all, this is Void City, and the fact that he was able to sneak his way here represents a kind of ability in itself. Everyone's expressions changed. Oh, Are you talking about that kind of status? Someone asked. Of course, the man said, if he's really that strong, that position can be used as an alternative and can also allow him to better serve the guild, as long as he dares to try. The others nodded in agreement. Seeing that no one had any objections, the host said, then let's do it this way. All right, let's move on to the next matter. About that troublesome matter, Gu Qingshan verified her identity in the hall of the Assassin Guild and was invited to a secret room at the back. A young girl was waiting for him in the secret room. She was the first person in charge of the guild that had escaped that time. Seeing you again, I must express my sincere gratitude. My name is Jean. The girl smiled. Gu Qingshan replied, I'm sorry. We fiends don't like to say our real names. My code name is Yi Fei Li. Also, since it's a special urgent quest issued by the guild headquarters, I should complete it. Jean nodded in understanding and gestured for him to sit down before extending her hand. Your intermediate assassin badge. Gu Qingshan put the silver badge in his hand. Jean put the badge away, then casually swiped to the void of space. 2 trays suddenly appeared on the table. On one of the trays was a golden badge, as well as a bulging bag. On the other tray, there was a black letter. What's this for? Gu Qingshan asked. The girl explained, the golden badge represents your status as an advanced assassin. Your reward is inside the bag. As for the letter, it's a promotion recommendation for our assassin guild. You can choose one of them as your reward for completing the special urgent quest from last time. Gu Qingshan pondered for a bit, then asked, what's with the promotion recommendation? I remember that advanced assassins are already the highest rank, Qin patiently explained. Within the 900 million world layers, high-level hitmen are indeed more than enough to complete the majority of missions, but outside of the 900 million world layers, we're faced with the endless space vortex, where there are many powerful void races, numerous broken worlds of the samsara, various unfathomable ruins, as well as innumerable forces of the void. High-level hitmen would not be able to accept missions here. She pointed at the black letter. The higher-ups of the guild have unanimously decided to give you a chance to surpass the rank of Advanced Assassin. Of course, you can also choose the Advanced Assassin badge and the bag of coins. These rewards should be enough for you to live comfortably in the 900 million world layers for a few dozen years, Gu Qingshan smiled. Before he could say anything, the girl continued, I suggest you choose the promotion recommendation, because such a chance isn't very common. If you succeed, you will be able to come into contact with the entire space vortex. Your life will be completely different. What if I fail? Gu Qingshan asked. Jean silently communicated with him through telepathy. Even if you fail, the guild will most likely compensate you with a sum of money. Thank you for the reminder. I'll choose the promotion recommendation, Gu Qingshan replied. Advanced Assassin wouldn't be able to stay in Void City for long. So if he chose this option, he would most likely be sent back to the 900 million world layers very quickly. There was no need to even think about it. He should choose the black letter. This letter represented his status in Void City. It also represented endless opportunities. Jean smiled and clapped her hands. The tray containing the golden medallion and a large bag of coins immediately disappeared. Please, she gestured for Gu Qingshan to take the black letter. Gu Qingshan received the letter and opened it. There were no supernatural phenomena, but a line of text was written in the common human language frowny face in consideration of your outstanding contributions. Permission is granted to know the following. To accept a mission from the endless void, you will need at least one of the following 4 identities. Note, the 4 identities are arranged according to their strength from lowest to highest. Ceiling Assassin, Unsolvable Assassin, Lifeless Assassin, Titled Assassin. Reading this, Gu Qingshan couldn't help but chuckle. The first 3 ranks here are the same as the ranks of the apocalypse. Is this a metaphor of the apocalypse, where the assassin is the one being assassinated? As for the final titled hitman, it's easy to understand, because the hitman is so powerful that he or she is recognized by the infinite worlds and living beings. He or she would naturally have a title of his or her own within the endless void. A title is a blessing from the power of the laws. What are you laughing at? Jean curiously asked. Nothing, Gu Qingshan replied, and continued reading frowny face after the unanimous decision of the guild. You have been granted this opportunity. If you want to become a ceiling assassin, you'll first have to fight a ceiling assassin and remain undefeated. Only then will you be qualified. When you are ready, please bring this recommendation letter to the guild to apply for promotion. We will arrange a battle for you as soon as possible. Attention, this is only an assessment. Your opponent will also be your future comrade. They won't try to kill you, and you don't need to do so either. Gu Qing put the letter away and put it back on the table. Please arrange it for me. I'm going to apply for promotion right now, he said. Jean smiled. I knew it. Please wait a moment. I'll arrange it right away. She nodded to Gu Qing, took the letter, and left the secret room. Gu Qing silently waited for a while. He took out the bottle of liquor that Zhang Yongho gave him and took a sip. Due to the divine race's covert interference during the creation of a 900 million world layers, the overall strength of the 900 million world layers has always been suppressed. Perhaps only after I release World's Apocalypse Online, Human Army, would this situation slowly change. But the space vortex wasn't the same. Each of the void monsters here was a combatant who had survived countless years of cruel elimination before finally surviving. The races, forces, and worlds that naturally lived in the void were much stronger than the 900 million world layers created by the divine race. If I can use my identity as a void hitman to interact with the people of the Wraith realm, it would definitely be outside of their expectations and precautions. That's not a bad idea, Gu Qing silently thought. Very quickly, the door of the secret room opened as 2 rows of people walked in. Jean stood in the middle and told Gu Qing, it's been arranged. The opponent you'll be challenging this time is a wind elemental elf. Please follow me. All right. Gu Qing followed her deeper into the Hitman Guild. They arrived at a large arena. At this point, quite a few people had already gathered around the arena to watch the battle. Powerful presences exuded from their bodies. These are all the higher-ups of the guild. You'll have to show your true abilities and perform well. Leave a good impression on them. It'll be beneficial later on. Jean silently sent telepathic communication. Thank you, Gu Qing replied. You're welcome. You did save me after all. Also, a wind elemental elf is very fast. You need to be careful, Jean told her again. Gu Qing looked towards the arena, only to see an enchanting beauty standing on the arena, wearing a set of dark-colored leather armor and wielding a dagger in each hand. She was looking at Gu Qing with interest and muttered, a fear fiend. How rare. Such an evil creature actually joined our hitman squad. The 2 daggers in her hands danced around. Her presence changed as she began to exude layers of blue light. Unfortunately, I personally don't like evil creatures, so I won't let you pass. Gu Qing didn't seem to notice and leapt onto the arena. A referee walked between the 2 of them. After consulting with the big shots in the stands, he loudly announced, this match is over. This special promotion challenge, the intermediate level hitman, codenamed Yi Fei Li, challenges ceiling hitman Yi Fei Li Melody. Begin. As soon as he declared so, in a flash, the enchanting beauty disappeared without a trace. On the arena, besides Gu Qing, who was standing still, the others could only feel the howling wind. I need to leave a good impression, Gu Qing silently thought. I have too many tricks up my sleeves. It's not a big deal to reveal a few of them and use them as a signboard. With that in mind, Gu Qing asked, Hey, beauty, may I ask, is Melody your code name or your name? The wind elemental elf's movement speed was so fast that her voice could be heard from every direction. Oomph. I'm not an evil creature like you who doesn't even dare to reveal your name. Melody is naturally my name, but it's meaningless for you to know that now. She suddenly appeared behind Gu Qing. A cold gleam, Ki, a sword abruptly manifested and perfectly blocked the 2 daggers, blocking Melody's sneak attack. Melody disappeared again. Her voice came from the wind. Didn't think I'd underestimated you, but that was only 50% of my speed. I'm going to use 100% now. Gu Qing smiled and asked, Lady, Melody, I'm going to call you. Do you dare to accept? A second later, dozens of Melody shadows appeared at once, surrounding Gu Qing. They all thrust their daggers at the same time, shouting, "Why wouldn't I dare?" "Ah, it's a pleasure to fight you," Gu Qingshan casually replied and casually grabbed the Chaoyin sword. The sword struck. Chapter 1357. As Gu Qingshan raised the Chaoyin sword, all the illusions disappeared. Melody's real body appeared on his left, stabbing the dagger in her hand straight at his chest. Clang clang. 2 consecutive sounds of collision. Gu Qingshan took a step back. Melody didn't move. Gu Qingshan retreated step by step. Melody still didn't move. While everyone was confused, Gu Qingshan took out a bow from his sleeve. To avoid drawing too much attention, Gu Qingshan didn't take out the Dreamscape Soul artifact that Lady Fusey gave him, Bow of Fallen Souls, but a Cultivation World bow instead. He slowly drew the bow, knocked an arrow, and loosened his fingers. Sha! The arrow flew towards Melody, but was easily cut into pieces by her dagger. "Umph. You think you can just stand at a distance and use a bow?" Halfway through her sentence, Melody abruptly stopped. A sword appeared from behind her, lightly resting on her shoulder. At some unknown point, Gu Qingshan was already standing behind her. He raised his sword without saying a word. "I concede," Melody sighed and said faintly. Gu Qingshan then smiled. "You only fell for it because you didn't understand my abilities. I hope you won't take it to heart. How about we find a chance to fight again?" Melody provoked him. "Why bother? We're on the same side. I don't like to fight with my own people," Gu Qingshan said, and undid the Azure Dragon Origin Hex. "So you're a sly and cowardly fiend?" Melody continued to provoke him. Being immobilized in front of so many people filled her heart with rage. Gu Qingshan smiled and didn't say anything. "It's just words. There's no need to win. It's not like I'll lose anything even if I take a step back, not to mention the other party is a woman." He firmly remembered Shifu's advice to never offend a beautiful woman. "Even if I do, I can't offend her too much." Seeing that, Melody couldn't say anything else. Her figure flashed and disappeared from where she was, disappearing without a trace. On the arena, the judge looked at the big shots on the platform. Obviously, the final outcome would be decided by those in power. Gu Qingshan also looked at those people. Many of the people in the stands were in human form, but they weren't actually humans. For example, the bald man sitting in the second row had jagged bone blades growing all over his shoulders. After all, there might be existences whose bodies were even larger than a world. If their main bodies were to appear, it would be very troublesome. Transforming into a human was more convenient for communication. The big shots communicated with each other telepathically. After a while, a big shot said, "The results are obvious. You can announce it now." The referee loudly announced, "I hereby announce that the challenger, Yifei Li, has successfully advanced to become a ceiling assassin." "Thank you," Gu Qingshan said sincerely to the audience. "Yifei Li, I saw the scene when you joined the guild. It seems that you came up with this code name randomly. Do you want to consider making a new one?" A big shot asked. Gu Qingshan looked at Qin. His action was noticed by many people. Qin thought for a bit and suggested, "Although it's not a title, you need to let others remember you better. After all, you're already a ceiling assassin." She suddenly smiled and said, "Perhaps one day, your codename will become a title and spread across the entire void. This is something that has happened before, so I suggest that you take your codename very seriously." Gu Qingshan fell into thought briefly. Every title represented the blessing of the nomological laws, which was a very good aid to all living beings. "I need to be careful. Not to mention, my constant use of Yifei Li's name seems to be causing him trouble." Yifei Li once mentioned this before. When he first entered the Strife Zones, he was shocked by the Bramblebird Kingdom's welcoming party and couldn't calm down for a long time. "That's right. I shouldn't use his name anymore. But, my naming skills are terrible. Can't think of anything is already my limit. Now that I'm an evil creature, should I call myself the evil creature who can't think of anything?" That sounded a bit ridiculous. All of a sudden, a flash of inspiration flashed through Gu Qingshan's mind. There seems to be a way. That's right. I don't actually need to use Yifei Li's name. Since I'm a fear fiend, an evil creature. In the arena, the bigwigs only saw the fear fiend pondering briefly before speaking in a low voice. I've thought it through. I really need a new code name. What is it? Qin asked. Gu Qingshan raised his thumb and pointed at himself. Sha Chong. Sha Chong was the name of the purgatory archfiend, but it wasn't his real name, only a code name. If Sha Chong can use this code name, it means that this code name has been recognized by the evil creatures. So I can use it as well. That's right, that's it. Gu Qingshan triumphantly looked at everyone. Silence. The entire arena was dead silent. On the platform, the bigwigs looked at him, not knowing what to say. For countless years, the Hitman Guild's hitmen had always walked the infinite worlds with a solemn, gloomy, cold, and merciless image. They also had codenames like Umbra's Hand, Guillotine of Death, and Gorefiend. These codenames could easily win the trust of their customers, who would be more than willing to issue the relevant missions and wait for the hitman to kill the corresponding target. But now, a codename, Sha Chong, suddenly popped up. What would the customers think? This style of codename is completely different from our style. He took it a step further. The codename, Sha Chong, is too impactful. It would completely destroy the image of the Hitman Guild that they've worked so hard to build over the years. All of a sudden, a light cough resounded. Fiend, I suggest you change your codename. Gu Qingshan turned to see a white-haired old man with slicked back hair and a cigar in his mouth. One of his eyes was covered by a black eye patch, while the other was as sharp as an eagle's. He sat in the middle of the audience, wielding a short scepter in his hand while a black bird sat on his shoulder. This old man seemed to have a very high status, as when he spoke, everyone held their breaths and lowered their heads in respect. Isn't this good? Gu Qingshan shrugged. The old man replied, making people laugh on the battlefield isn't a good strategy, because you'll find that your companions are laughing as well. Gu Qingshan said, I'm really bad at coming up with names and code names. How about you help me come up with one? Everyone was surprised and turned to the old man with slicked back hair. No one dared to say anything. Qin clenched her fist and gulped nervously. The old man smiled, then muttered, I very rarely come up with code names for others. Very well. A fear fiend is a fiend that feeds on the fear of living beings. From the perspective of this fiend race, you can be considered a first-rate killer. He stared closely at Gu Qingshan. From what I saw just now, you had concealed all of your killing intent, almost like a cautious giant fiend afraid of harming its prey. In truth, if you were to unleash your full power, you wouldn't only be at the level of a ceiling hitman. When you attacked, you hesitated twice, each time restraining yourself, lowering your technique and power by a bit. But as soon as your sword moved, endless aura of death manifested with it. Aura of death is the sign of the appearance of the law of death. Normal people wouldn't be able to see it. Only existences like myself can see it, because you've killed too many living beings. The law of death has become accustomed to following you, ready to receive the souls of the newly dead from your hands at any moment. In other words, you've always been an agent of death for the past few years. The old man took a puff of his cigar and exhaled. I can see that you're a natural-born hitman, a fiend born to kill. All of your techniques are for the sake of erasing your enemies. Gu Qingshan looked at the old man in surprise. I've only unleashed a few attacks, and he's already seen through so many things. Old man, if you praise me like that, the others in the guild might not be convinced. They'll challenge me, Gu Qingshan complained. Are you afraid? The old man asked. I am, Gu Qingshan replied. The old man didn't believe her and asked, You're afraid of losing to them? Or afraid of dying at their hands? No, I'm afraid of trouble, Gu Qingshan honestly replied. The old man laughed. You're a fear fiend. Your strength has far surpassed normal fear fiends, perhaps even the majority of them. If that's the case, I shall grant you a new code name, Fear Fiend King. I hope you won't disappoint this code name. As Gu Qingshan was about to reply, lines of glowing text suddenly appeared on the War God UI. Frowny face, the one who granted you a code name, was the Hitman Emperor of the Space Vortex. His personal confirmation holds a certain meaning for the living beings of the Void, as well as the infinite worlds. Your codename will gradually be known. Thanks to this, your codename, Fear Fiend King, has now fulfilled the basic requirements for a title. Title quest, Fear Fiend King, about to begin. Chapter 1358. Why is it a title again? Reading the lines of glowing text, Guqin Shan couldn't help but feel bored. Comparatively, the 5 monsters that Void War God had to kill were all the most powerful existences within the space vortex, while the title, Fear Fiend King, was merely a title element bestowed by one of the more powerful existences. Comparing the two, Void War God was still a bit more interesting. Perhaps sensing his emotions, Guqin Shan suddenly felt his left eye itch. Itch? No, this is an itch. It's transmitting some sort of emotion. Desire. Indeed, my left eye is yearning for something. Guqin Shan suddenly realized. In order to fuse the shattered worlds with the divine mountain of Sumeru, I became blind. After that, I used the 7 sword strikes of the sacrificial dance to kill the soul shrieker. To avoid being erased by the 3 laws of reality, I had all of the past fused into my left eye. This caused my 2 world techniques, parallel dream and space-time reversal, to disappear. Without these 2 techniques, my ability to gather information as well as strategize during battle was greatly affected. The New World technique had been sleeping this entire time. It was only now that my blind left eye finally showed signs of awakening. A second later, the War God UI reacted and gave him the corresponding description. Frowny face, you've obtained the basic requirements for the title, Fear Fiend King. The world technique in your left eye is expressing its desire to you. It requires these basic requirements in order to form its first ability. Are you willing to give up the title, Fear Fiend King? Guqin Shan pondered briefly, then answered in his mind, I am willing. The world technique is about to fuse with the corresponding requirements of the title, Fear Fiend King. This process will take approximately an entire day. Please wait patiently. Guqin Shan then smiled at the old man and nodded. Thank you, sir. Then, my title shall be Fear Fiend King, the old man smiled. Qin, it's already late. Take him to his room to rest. Tomorrow, explain the high-level rules of the guild to him. Furthermore, give him what he deserves as a sealing hitman. Yes, President, Qin said respectfully. The old man said, all right, that's all for today. I hope that in the days to come, we can continue to be like today, constantly adding new blood. Only then will the guild grow stronger day by day. Yes, everyone replied in unison. The next day, Guqin Shan played with a brass key in his hand as he followed behind Qin to tour the entire guild. This brass key could open his personal resting room. As long as she arrived at the resting area, inserted the key into door 21, and opened the door, Guqin Shan would be able to reach an island. There were all kinds of facilities on the island. This was a small world that the Assassin's Guild had created out of thin air. It belonged exclusively to Guqin Shan and was specifically used for resting. Every sealing assassin had a lounge like this. Guqin Shan finally had a good night's rest. Qin said as she led the way. As a sealing assassin, you have the right to come into contact with missions of the 1st to the 3rd level and obtain information of that level. Every month, you must complete 2 missions, after which the guild won't care about you, and you'll be free to do as you please. Only during extremely special circumstances would the guild issue a compulsory conscription, and during those circumstances, you must obey their orders. Guqin Shan smiled. For example, last time in the seaside world, was that a compulsory conscription? Indeed, Qin replied. Furthermore, after you complete 2 missions, you can also accept missions from outside, but you must hand in 30% of the profits for each mission. In exchange, the guild will provide you with the necessary information, manpower, and even assistance. Guqin Shan replied. That's very fair. I can accept a mission right now. Qin stopped and waved her hand in the air. A large number of densely packed forms appeared in front of the 2 of them. Take a look. You can accept any mission labeled as Level 1, Level 2, or Level 3, Qin told him. Guqin Shan looked at them. The first thing he saw was a mission labeled Level 2, which read, Frowny face, head to the 900 million world layers and assassinate the Void Monster. Face Stealer. It is an information broker with a bounty on its head by many organizations. It has killed many of its collaborators and learned too many secrets that it shouldn't know. Currently, a total of 5 organizations have offered a price for its head. Gu Shan shook his head. Because the space-time coin granted me the power of distortion, the prerequisite for this power was that I couldn't interfere with what was currently happening in the 900 million world layers. And at this point in time, my past self and Lin were heading to the Bramble Bird Kingdom together. That's why I definitely can't accept any missions related to the 900 million world layers. Gu Shan's gaze moved down, quickly attracted by another mission. Frowny face, kill the Wraith Realm's Wraith General. Chong Mu, bring his head back to turn in the mission. How interesting. Gu Shan's gaze moved forward, only to find that this mission was a level 5 mission. I can't accept a level 5 mission. Qin, the Wraith Realm's Wraith General, doesn't seem to be particularly strong, so why is the mission's level so high? Gu Shan couldn't help but ask. Qin explained, the Wraith Realm can be considered one of the most difficult worlds to enter. All of its checkpoints use causality law techniques. Unless invited by the Wraiths themselves, it's very unlikely that an outsider would be able to enter, and even if they did, it would be very difficult to escape, which is why the mission's level is so high. So that's why. No wonder the Wraith artifact spirit didn't directly transport me into the Wraith Realm. Then, our Hitman Guild must have a way to enter. Otherwise, wouldn't no one be able to accept this mission? Gu Shan asked. We do have a spell, but this spell is extremely expensive and would only be used when the mission can be completed, Qin replied. In other words, only an unsolvable hitman or unlivable hitman would accept this mission for the guild to help them infiltrate. Is that correct? Correct. Gu Shan nodded in understanding. Completing the mission well, quickly, and efficiently, the guild's evaluation of the hitman would be higher. This is the path to promotion. Seems like I'll have to think of a way to quickly become an unsolvable hitman. Gu Shan's gaze wandered around, then quickly chose a mission with a level 3 rating. Qin helped him deal with it, then smiled and told him, now that you have a basic understanding of the guild situation and accepted your first mission, there's only one thing left. Gu Shan asked, what is it? Qin explained, the ceiling hitman has the right to choose one thing from the guild, completely free of charge, and only once. Gu Shan asked with interest, what is it? Weapons, armor, hitman skill books, money, an identity in a unique world, as well as a single mission exemption, Qin replied. I've thought about it, Gu Shan replied. Already, Qin was surprised. A few minutes later, the two of them arrived at the deepest part of the Hitman Guild, the equipment storage room. A hunchbacked old man received them. He observed Gu Shan and said, so this is today's newcomer. I heard that the guild master personally gave you the codename Fear Fiend King. I've already heard about it. What kind of armor do you need? The hunchbacked old man waved his hand, summoning 4 sets of armor from the void of space. A set of armor that exuded a tide of mana, a set of heavy full-body metal armor, a set of light leather armor, and a set of luxurious robes embroidered with various runes. The hunchbacked old man began to explain. We have the occult rune steel armor, the dragon rider heavy armor, the magic-soaked leather armor, as well as the spellcaster robe. These are all armors that are highly sought after by high-level hitmen within the boundless space vortex. You can choose any one of them as your personal protective equipment. What's different about these armors? Gu Shan asked. The occult rune steel armor contains a variety of unique powers, essentially allowing a hitman to gain a few more skills out of nowhere, so it's highly sought after. The Dragon Rider heavy armor doesn't have any other abilities aside from its outstanding defensive capabilities. It was originally designed based on the defensive capabilities required to defend against the attacks of dragons, but its only weakness is that it's too heavy due to the use of too many precious metals, making it unsuitable for quick attacks and movement. The magic-soaked leather armor, although its defensive capabilities are a bit lacking, its advantage is that it's very light. Not only does it not affect movement, it can also further enhance one's own abilities. Gu Shan was a bit emotional. It's been a long time since I've worn armor. A good set of armor for a close combat profession like a sword cultivator was extremely useful. On the battlefield, if a sword cultivator didn't need to worry about their own defense, their fighting strength would almost double. Gu Shan thought for a bit, then asked, Melody's leather armor is used to increase her speed? That's right. The leather armor can increase one's own abilities, of course. You'll need to familiarize yourself with the armor in order to be able to use it with ease, the hunchbacked old man nodded. Then continued. The spellcaster robe is completely different from the other 3 types of armor. It can store several spells that can be immediately unleashed during battle. This is something that the other armors can't compare to. Hearing the introduction, Gu Shan already had an idea. So, she pointed at the pure metal armor and said, I want this Dragon Rider heavy armor. Ah, so it's someone who's confident in their own strength. Very well, you can give it a try. The hunchbacked old man pointed his finger, sending the pure black metal armor in front of Gu Shan. Dong! The armor lightly touched the ground, giving off a heavy sound. Chapter 1359. The Hitman Guild. On the rooftop, a white-haired old man with slicked-back hair was feeding the black crow on his shoulder. All of a sudden, 4 black figures appeared not too far behind him. The old man didn't turn around and only spoke. What did the new Fear Fiend King do today? One of the black figures replied. He chose a Class 3 mission and is currently choosing his armor, the old man muttered to himself. He's quite motivated. Could it be that he wants to advance faster? Another black figure couldn't help but ask. Chairman, we have so many unsolvable and unlivable hitmen. Why are you paying attention to such a newcomer? The old man smiled. I've noticed that I've been too idle lately. From now on, I will pay close attention to every new sealer hitman that joins us. There's no need for you to make a fuss. The 4 hitmen were relieved. Very well. You may leave. Understood. The 4 hitmen disappeared from the rooftop. After they left, the old man's gaze suddenly became sharp. Who exactly is it that even I couldn't find out his true identity with my abilities? He muttered and reached his hand out to touch the black crow. The crow abruptly spoke. I could only see a piece of parchment with the name of the secret protector written all over it. Can you see it clearly? The old man asked. That's impossible. Even void lords like you and I couldn't find out who he was, and no one else in this world will be able to see those names clearly, the crow replied. The old man went silent for a while and muttered, If he's willing to work for the Hitman Guild, that means he's at least temporarily on our side. The crow continued. As long as he's on our side, let him be. There's no need to purposely befriend him or give him special treatment. Otherwise, he might think that we know something and become hostile. I agree with you, the old man said. At the same time, at another location, the Hitman Guild's storage room. Gu Shan, and the hunchbacked old man were all looking at the jet-black full-body armor in front of them. It was so heavy that the armor had sunk a bit just by being placed on the ground. Try it. If you find it too heavy, you can always change to something else, Qin said with uncertainty. Gu Shan lightly tapped the Dragon Rider heavy armor with her hand. Dong! The sound of heavy blows rang out. The entire set of armor instantly dispersed, turning into dozens of components that revolved rapidly around Gu Shan. In the time it took for a single breath, the entire set of armor had been donned. Gu Shan put on her visor. He paced back and forth a few times, drawing his sword and waving it casually. It seemed as if he was not affected at all. However, deep footprints were left on the floor beneath his feet. I've already cast a weight-bearing spell in advance. What a headache, the hunchbacked old man muttered as he looked at the floor. Gu Shan stood still. Lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI. Dragon Rider heavy armor, full body armor. Magic resistance, elemental resistance, curse resistance, sturdy. Description: This is a high-quality armor of the Hitman Guild. A large amount of precious metals were used to forge it, capable of resisting all spells and physical attacks. As a sword cultivator, Gu Shan only wanted the armor to be able to defend. As for killing enemies, he could do that by himself. In fact, he had used the power of the Orange Sovereign to absorb all of the power of the 3 dragons. Ignoring everything else, just his physical body alone was already far superior to normal entities. He had also persisted in practicing the martial scripture that Lin taught him, so his control over his body's bones, muscles, and meridians had reached the point of perfection. The Dragon Rider heavy armor had the best defense among the 4 sets of armor. That's more than enough. As for the weight and whatnot, it was nothing compared to the power of the dragons. Gu Qingshan was pleased. I want this full body armor. All of a sudden, he felt his eyes itching again. Another line of glowing text appeared frowny face. Due to sufficient world origin power, your first world technique has been completed. Please provide a certain amount of soul origin power to fully activate the technique. Gu Qingshan couldn't stay calm anymore. Aren't you going to take a look at the other items? Qin asked. No need. I want to return to the resting room for a bit. Gu Qingshan replied. Very well. Come here and sign your name. Then come to me to collect your badge before you leave. It should be done soon, Qin told her. Gu Qingshan quickly signed her name. He pretended to be calm, returned to the hitman resting area, and used the bronze key to open the resting room number 21. He returned to his aisle. How much soul points do I need? He asked. The war god UI replied. This world technique has been prepared. Please pay 10,000 soul points to activate it. Saying so, he silently extracted 1,000 soul points from it. I'll pay, Gu Qingshan replied. Immediately, lines of glowing text appeared on the screen. Within your left eye, you've used the laws of the inner plane, the power of primal chaos, earth, water, fire, wind, iris sword technique, as well as the origin power of parallel worlds to create 2 different abilities. However, during the sacrificial dance of swords, the worlds of the past had fused together and completely devoured these 2 abilities. At this point, the brand new world technique had taken its initial form, manifesting as the mystery iris technique. Fog Realm Descent. Fog Realm Descent. When you activate this iris technique, you will remain within the world of your eye for a brief moment, then be transported to another location. Attention! You can only teleport between 2 worlds at most, and the location you teleport to must be the same place you've previously stayed at. Reading the lines of glowing text, Gu Qingshan froze for a while. This ability seems to hold a lot of meaning. He silently thought for a while, then stood up, left the resting room, and headed outside the Hitman Guild. As he passed through the lobby, he went to the reception counter and greeted Qin. I'm about to go on a mission. Come. Your new badge is finally ready. I'll come with you to prepare for your first mission, Qin said. She gave a dark purple badge to Gu Qingshan. This badge depicted a blade and a sword, the 2 weapons crisscrossing to form the Hitman Guild symbol. Thank you. Gu Qingshan nodded and received the badge. Qin immediately led him through layers of obstacles and structures, arriving at the mission activation platform. There were already 7 to 8 staff members busily working. They stood around a certain warp gate and began to make various preparations. Qin loudly declared, This year's number 692 mission, rank 3, begin preparations, yes. Everyone responded. One of the staff members walked up to Gu Qingshan and quickly reported, 1.5 hours ago, the target appeared at the Kingdom of Ruins Royal Banquet. He had just left. His ship is currently returning. The current situation is suitable for the assassination. We have calculated the best location for the assassination and are currently preparing the corresponding warp technique, Gu Qingshan said. Show me the target's details again. Yes, the staff member answered and lightly tapped the void of space. Instantly, a kind-looking old man appeared in front of Gu Qingshan. The Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Ruins, Fandursel, the slayer of 15 void races, overthrew the kingdom's royal family and monopolized power. This mission's difficulty is ranked 3. The reason why it's so hard is because Fandursel has several dozen body doubles, making it very difficult for us to find the real target. Secondly, every time Fandursel goes out, he would always bring elite armed forces with him, as well as an advanced anti-magic formation. Once the assassination mission is completed, the hitman would not be able to warp away. They would have to rely on their own strength to fight their way out. Hearing that, Gu Qingshan said, I understand. We can begin. He quickly walked up to the warp gate and stood still. Qin quickly tapped the void of space and asked, Are there any issues with the information? What about the warp technique? Everything is ready, everyone replied. Very well. This mission will be completed by the hitman codenamed Fear Fiend King. Warp is about to begin. Ready? 3, 2, 1, activate. A layer of white light appeared from the warp gate and enveloped Gu Qingshan. In a split second, he disappeared from everyone's sight. The endless space vortex. Gu Qingshan suddenly appeared in the darkness of the void. Not too far away, a large ship was slowly flying by. As expected of a professional, what a suitable location, a suitable opportunity, Gu Qingshan muttered, took out the Dragon Rider armor, and quickly equipped it. A lot of body doubles. Gu Qingshan fell into thought. Azure Dragon Origin Hex. Binding. Only when the other party responds to my call can I bind them. At the time, the War God UI's description was frowny face. Any entity whose name you call, as soon as they respond to your call, will be immediately bound in place. In this state, although they can block your attacks, they won't be able to move or escape. Then can I define this response? Gu Qingshan's mind turned, then leapt forward and flew next to the ship. He took a deep breath, circulated his spirit energy, and shouted, "Fandursel, you old scoundrel, come out and fight me if you're not afraid." No response came from the ship, but very quickly, the ship turned around and headed straight for Gu Qingshan. This situation should also be a type of response, Gu Qingshan muttered to himself. If this really works, it means that the ability passed down by the Thousand Dragon Ancestor isn't just for calling names. The causality law power it contains has even more room to be utilized. Gu Qingshan's mind moved. The Earth Sword appeared from the void of space, turned into a streak of light, and flew into the void. All of a sudden, a blinding giant sword phantom appeared from the darkness and struck the ship. Secret art, river blocking iron sword. Boom! The entire ship was directly chopped into pieces of wreckage. Countless professionists appeared in the space vortex. Bastard, that guy isn't weak. Go. The Prime Minister has ordered, kill him immediately. Everyone go. They quickly gathered into an army, spread out, and charged towards Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan put his hand on his canopy and looked at the wreckage of the ship. Amidst the crowd, there was an inconspicuous figure floating in the air, not moving at all. Gu Qingshan reached his hand out and caught the Six Paths' great mountain sword. "Found you," he said softly and disappeared from where he stood. Chapter 1360. Before the ship was destroyed, Fandursel was thinking about how to usurp the country. After countless years of planning, this day had finally come. The Emperor of the Empire had passed away, the eldest son had been poisoned to death by me. The rest was actually quite simple. As long as I can make Empress bow down to me. Then, at this point, a voice suddenly resounded from outside the ship. "Fandursel, you old scoundrel, come out and fight me if you're not afraid." Fandursel scowled. A professionist reported, "Sir, there's a madman outside. Only one person?" "Yes, ram him to death." "Yes, sir." After this order was given, the ship headed straight for the man. As soon as the ship changed course, Fandursel found that he couldn't move. He immediately realized that something was wrong. "Quickly activate the large-scale anti-magic formation," Fandursel ordered. "Yes, sir." The two dark guards responded and immediately activated a large-scale anti-magic array around the entire spaceship. This was something that they had paid a heavy price to buy from a certain void monster. According to that monster, it had accidentally discovered this formation in the remains of an ancient magic empire. Anti-magic was an extremely rare power in the first place, and in the world of magic, it could be considered as the highest level magic formation. An intense black light spread out in all directions. The formation slowly expanded. Fandursel sighed in relief. Boom! An intense tremor resounded. The ship was sliced into countless fragments that flew into the space vortex. All the spellcasters reacted immediately. They had already escaped from the anti-magic formation and were casting their spells to fight against the person who blocked their way. The powerful melee combatants had all gathered around Fandursel, cautiously protecting him. Everything was in order. Fandursel calmed down a bit and ordered with a grim expression, "I suspect that he's an assassin sent by the royal family. Capture him for me. I want to slowly torture and interrogate him." "Yes, sir." Someone immediately went to relay the order. The guard captain next to him silently came up and whispered, "Sir, don't worry. I'll be by your side to protect you." Fandersar nodded. The guard captain was a powerful melee combatant, proficient with swords, spears, rods, and clubs. Past events had proven that it was always reassuring to have him around. Edwin van der Sar patted the guard captain on the shoulder and said, "After we take down the assassin, I'll leave the interrogation to you. Give him an unforgettable lesson, but don't let him die. I want to throw him in front of Empress and see her reaction." The guard captain smirked. "Don't worry, sir. I will definitely let this assassin know what." Before he finished speaking, the guard captain suddenly disappeared. In its place was an assassin clad in black armor and wielding a longsword. A faint voice came from the armor. "It might be a little painful. I hope you can endure it." Edwin van der Sar's expression changed abruptly, but before he could do anything, he felt a bone-piercing cold light coming at him. The world was spinning. A commotion broke out in the surroundings. Then he saw his own headless body. The world was pitch black. Gu Qing-shan sheathed her sword and calmly looked around. This was the anti-magic formation, so she couldn't perform any spells. Shadow Shift could only be performed because it was activated from the outside of the formation, combined with the fact that it could pass through all obstructions. Not even the formation could stop it, so it could be successfully performed. Then what about the New World technique? Gu Qing-shan focused her mind and activated the mystery iris technique in her left eye. Fog Realm Descent. A thick layer of fog suddenly manifested around her. The anti-magic formation couldn't stop a world technique. That's right. This is a cultivation-type mystery iris technique that combines the inner plane, primal chaos, and origin power of infinite worlds. How could an anti-magic formation possibly stop it? Gu Qing-shan's expression changed and casually swung her sword. Key. The Six Paths Great Mountain Sword parried a giant spear. The one wielding the spear was the guard captain. "You killed the prime minister of the empire. The entire empire will become your enemy. You will die without a place to be buried," he angrily shouted. Gu Qing-shan gripped her sword tightly and pushed. The guard captain was sent flying, but more people were attacking Gu Qing-shan. "Kill him. Avenge the prime minister. Kill. Despicable assassin." Shouts and screams resounded throughout the battlefield. Casually parrying the barrage of attacks from the melee professionists, Gu Qing-shan took a step back, looked at the people rushing towards him, and slowly said, "Don't be rash. This matter is over." He walked into the fog. The fog quickly swirled, then completely disappeared in just a single breath's worth of time. There was nothing left. The professionists all froze. The guard captain rushed to one side, grabbed a guard, and sternly shouted. "The anti-magic formation wasn't activated?" The guard said with a sobbing tone. "It's open, boss, look." Two guards showed the magical artifact in their hands to the guard captain. The magical artifact was still giving off waves of energy. It was indeed activated, but none of us casters were able to activate our spells, a professionist commented from the side. Everyone fell silent. If even the anti-magic formation wasn't activated, then wouldn't this assassin be able to come and go as he pleased? Everything happened too quickly just now. The assassin abruptly appeared next to the prime minister and swung his sword. The guard captain's full-powered attack was easily deflected by his sword. He didn't even bother to look at the other people's attacks, only casually blocking them a few times. Following that, the assassin disappeared into the fog. Who would be able to endure such a powerful assassination? The more they thought about it, the more terrified they became. Someone suddenly shouted, "No, I don't believe it. How could he come and go as he pleased? There must be some sort of smokescreen." Everyone turned to look, only to see that it was the leader of the spellcasters. The guard captain clenched his fist and shouted, "That's right, we must avenge the prime minister." "Well said, Captain. That's right, we must avenge the prime minister." Everyone agreed. All of a sudden, the fog once again manifested from thin air. The terrifying assassin clad in black armor walked out from the fog. "Kill!" the guard captain shouted. Everyone attacked. Intense wind kicked up. Boom! Everyone was blown away, then stood in mid-air, not daring to move. Sword-infused wind. The unparalleled sword-infused wind drifted around everyone, making them unable to move. Heaven's Sword, Heaven's Choice, -9, layered Tai sword array. With Gu Qingshan's current strength, the power of her sword array was nothing short of terrifying. Not to mention, the Heaven Sword had stacked his sword array 9 times. My apologies, they said that I forgot to take the head, so that's going to deduct the quest completion rate, the assassin said apologetically. He grabbed Edwin van der Sar's head with one hand, then waved at everyone with the other. Goodbye. I wish you all good health and happiness. The assassin once again entered the fog, then completely disappeared. As soon as he left, the sword-infused wind dissipated. The professionists regained their freedom. Everyone exchanged glances. Someone spoke up. There's no need to think about it. An assassin of this level definitely isn't a death knight from any clan. He must be an assassin from the Hitman Guild. Everyone turned to the one who spoke, only to see that it was the leader of the spellcasters. As if confirming something, his expression turned ashen as he dejectedly said, "That assassin just now had already surpassed the normal ranks. He's at least a sealed existence, not someone we can deal with that." He flew into the distance. "Wait, where are you going?" the guard captain asked. The leader of the spellcasters didn't even turn around and replied, "The infinite void is vast and full of mysteries. The power of a combatant is both terrifying and frightening. I should have pursued the truth of magic long ago, seeking the secrets of life and death, instead of being blinded by power and wealth. Doing nothing every day. If I don't become stronger, I'll be ignored for the rest of my life." Not even daring to say a single word, his figure slowly disappeared into the space. Vortex. No one knew which world he had gone to. But one thing was certain. He had left the Empire of Ruins, never to return. "Guard captain, what do we do now?" someone asked in a low voice. The guard captain was speechless. He clenched his fists tightly, then loosened them, clenched them again, then loosened them again, his entire body trembling. Damn it, that assassin didn't treat me as an opponent worth fighting at all. He even wished for my happiness. The guard captain grumbled in dejection, then took off the Grand Chancellor's guard armor he was wearing. Turning around, he flew towards the infinite space vortex. He also left. Chapter 1361. The Prime Minister's head was sent away for verification. About a few minutes later, good news arrived. "Congratulations, Fear Fiend King. You've obtained 3 points," Qin smiled and said. 3 points is the full score? Gu Qingshan asked. Qin replied, "For a ceiling hitman, the highest level of missions they can accept is the 3rd level, and the full score for a 3rd level mission is 3 points, Gu Qingshan asked. 1 point per level. Correct. What's the point of points? Qin explained. You can use your Hitman points to purchase various skill tomes, equipment, or even money or information from the guild. Furthermore, if you can obtain 3 points from 5 consecutive missions, you'll be promoted to an unsolvable hitman. Gu Qingshan nodded, expressing that she understood. Originally, she only stayed in Void City to collect some information regarding the Wraith Realm. Only now did she find out that the Wraith Realm was extremely xenophobic, not allowing anyone to enter without a good reason. Infiltrating that world was actually a very difficult task. The Wraiths had numerous causality law defensive techniques, as well as immortal crafts to prevent outsiders from entering at all times. However, Gu Qingshan once saw a mission related to the Wraith Realm, the content of which was to assassinate a Wraith general. Only an unsolvable hitman could accept this mission. According to Qin, once a mission is accepted, the Hitman Guild will send the person inside to facilitate the completion of the mission. Gu Qingshan's eyes flickered a bit and quickly made her decision. The Hitman Guild was an organization that specialized in camouflage, scheming, and assassination, so they had a way to bypass the numerous causality, law defensive techniques of the Wraith Realm and send people inside. Then, I really need to think of a way to quickly become an unsolvable hitman. To promote. Qin, please help me arrange something. I want to continue with the next mission. Qin was a bit surprised, but still replied, All right, let me show you today's list of missions. She waved her hand in the void of space and manifested a large list of missions. Gu Shan's gaze moved a bit, then asked, why are all the missions in the 900 million world layers at level 1 or 2? Why isn't there a single level 3 mission? Qin replied, the 900 million world layers is lacking in resources. Their forces are weak, they don't have anything good to offer, and they can't afford to issue high-ranking missions. Gu Shan then asked, then what about the Bramble Bird Kingdom's Queen Lola? She's the only one qualified to issue high-level missions, but she had already been the target of an assassination, so she hates our Hitman Guild. Not to mention, she doesn't know what's going on outside the 900 million world layers, Qin explained. Gu Shan remained silent. Jean was right. Lola's entire family was assassinated, so she hated it to the core. Furthermore, the 900 million world layers and its living beings were created by the divine race based on what the bygone-era humanity left behind. That wasn't right either. I once saw that kind of ancient god in Tree's collection world. That giant granted me the liberation of my soul. He was clearly not a god. Could it be a deity from the inner world? Gu Shan shook her head. She couldn't figure it out. But now wasn't the time to think about that. Gu Shan could only toss her doubts aside and memorize the coordinates to avoid accidentally returning to the 900 million world layers. From a geographical point of view, the 900 million world layers and the eternal abyss weren't too far apart, while Void City was to the north of both of them. But compared to the entire space vortex, these 3 locations were nothing more than a drop in the ocean. They were all located within the space vortex. Furthermore, void monsters that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the judge of living beings' fate also existed. Within the great tomb of myriad beasts, there were a few powerful void creatures that were still struggling at death's door. Other than that, the other void monsters were all living on their own in the farthest reaches of the void. The endless void, there were countless races. Only the reality gate remained as an eternal coordinate. Outside of it was a place beyond the endless void. There had been people who went outside to explore, but no one had ever returned. Gu Shan silently sighed and continued reading through the list of missions. He suddenly saw one of them frowny face enter the Void Storm Cavern. Assassinate the Void Monster. Brain Eater Demon Bug. This bug is a mutated maze demon bug. Its ability is deprivation, extremely difficult to deal with. Attention, deprivation is a type of mystical skill that can cause the enemy to lose a method of combat. For example, mages will no longer be able to use their staffs in combat. Knights will no longer be able to use shields and swords. Gu Shan pointed at this and asked, why is this mission marked as 3+? Qin followed where he was pointing and explained, because 2 ceiling hitmen accepted this mission and both died, so the mission's rank was increased to 3+. Gu Shan asked with interest, if I complete this mission, how will the points be calculated? You'll have completed 2 missions, saying so. Qin appeared worried and whispered, don't accept this mission, it's too dangerous. I heard that it will be increased by 1 rank very soon. Gu Shan replied, it's fine, before it gets increased, I'll accept this mission right now. Qin looked at him and asked, are you serious? Come, teleport me there. In truth, I have the ability to counter these monsters. Gu Shan replied. Very well, the Void Storm Cavern is quite a distance away. Follow me. We'll immediately open the 7th warp gate. Qin immediately led him through several large secret rooms before finally arriving at the 7th warp gate. Qin and 7 to 8 other staff members began to arrange teleportation crystals around the warp gate, checking the teleportation runes, ascertaining the coordinates, and corresponding information. Compared to the previous warp gate, this one was much larger, but a bit tattered, with some places even smeared with black bloodstains. Noticing Gu Shan's gaze, Qin explained, the monsters in the Void Storm Cavern are unreasonable. All of them are a bunch of savage lunatics. No race has ever been willing to interact with them. Other than to kill them, what do I need to pay attention to? Gu Shan asked. Qin replied, kill that Brain Eater demon bug and immediately return. Do not draw the attention of other terrifying entities Are there any particularly powerful monsters? Gu Shan asked, seemingly thinking of something. Qin's face suddenly paled. You don't need to know that much, because the Void Storm Cavern itself is a nest of insects. The only thing you need to do is kill that brain-eater demon bug, then immediately leave, Qin replied. As Gu Shan digested these words, her mind became clear. In other words, I don't need to know what kind of terrifying entities exist in that place, because knowing would be useless. Running into them would only result in death. Sure enough, as expected of a 3+ mission. At this point, one of the staff members reported, according to the information we have, the brain-eater demon bug would enter a state of hibernation for the last 3 days of every month, frequently falling into slumber, making it a suitable time for assassination. We have calculated the best teleportation location, currently preparing the corresponding spatial warp technique. You will be teleported to the edge of the brain-eater demon bug's range of activity. Make sure to conceal your tracks. He casually handed the relevant information about the Void Storm Cavern to Gu Shan. Qin reminded him, the badge can be used to communicate, and it can also teleport you back, but your own warp technique seems to be more useful, so I won't say too much. While reading through the description of the Void Storm Cavern, Gu Shan nodded. His expression became a bit more serious. So if it's such a place, Gu Shan muttered, quickly walked up to the 7th warp gate, stood still, and signaled to everyone that he was ready. Qin raised her voice. This year's 693 mission, grade 3+, prepare to activate yes. Everyone replied. Very well, this mission will be completed by the hitman, codenamed Fear Fiend King. Warp is about to begin. Ready, 3 to 1, activate. A layer of white light appeared from the warp gate and enveloped Gu Shan. In a split second, he disappeared from everyone's sight. The boundless space vortex. The furious howling of the dark storm seemed to never stop. This place was filled with intense tides of mana. Gu Shan suddenly appeared and landed on a piece of dark land. After flying for a few dozen minutes, he finally reached the outer edge of the dark land. In front of him, a deep dark cavern appeared in front of him. Gu Shan crouched down and lightly knocked on the black substance on the outside. No sound. Gu Shan released his inner sight to scan and found that this cavern was almost as big as a city. It's so big. Gu Shan pondered briefly before donning the dragon rider armor. You seem to be very cautious. The earth's sword sent its voice. Gu Shan smiled. That's right. Can you guess what this dark cavern is? What's going on? Luo Bingley curiously sent her voice and asked. This cavern is actually an eye socket, Gu Shan replied. An eye socket? The 4 swords called out at once. That's right. Countless years ago, a gigantic monster of unknown origins died in this void. Its body had already been eaten by its own rotting insects, leaving only its undying head. Now, we need to enter through its eye socket. Its eye socket is filled with an endless storm of dark magic, called the Maze, or the Void Storm Hole, Gu Shan explained. Luo Bingley couldn't help but ask. Then the insect you want to kill, could it be? That's right, it's the second weakest among all the insects, Gu Shan replied. The 4 swords exclaimed in surprise. Chapter 1362. Gu Shan leapt down into the depths of the cave. The intense wind struck the dragon rider armor, giving off a long woo-woo-woo sound. This was the tyrannical power of the dark tide, capable of directly ripping a normal professionist to shreds. Fortunately, the dragon rider armor was extremely sturdy and had a high resistance against elemental energy, so Gu Shan didn't need to worry about resisting the storm manifested from the dark tide. He concealed his presence and continued to descend according to the direction marked on the report. That insect's ability is strip. Fortunately, there's only one of it, so all of you enter my thoughts see and don't expose that I'm a sword cultivator. I'm going to cripple its ability first. He sent his voice to the 4 swords. The 4 swords hid themselves in his thoughts see. Gu Shan continued to descend. Very quickly, he smelled a foul stench. Along the way, numerous holes appeared on the walls of the cave. These are the traces left behind by the brain-eater demon bug. Its nest was getting closer. Gu Shan slowly slowed down his descent and formed a hand seal. The power of a lightning-type spell appeared in his hand. Although he wasn't very proficient in it, with his cultivation, he could easily cast a few spells. At the very next moment, Gu Shan's expression changed a bit. Within his inner sight, a rapidly approaching blurred figure appeared. Gu Shan abruptly dodged to the side. The blurred figure flew past where he originally stood and struck the black wall. Ting! A sharp spike pierced deep into the wall. Not too far away, a colorful soft-bodied insect appeared in Gu Shan's vision. The brain-eater demon bug. It nodded towards Gu Shan. Gu Shan was surprised. Is it greeting me? All of a sudden, he noticed that the lightning element on his hand seal had completely disappeared. A line of combat notification appeared on the War God UI. Frowny face, you've received the strip technique. Your magic-type abilities have been stripped, temporarily unable to be used until the target dies. Attention! A brain-eater demon bug can only use deprivation on a single target, so nodding was the release of spell. The brain-eater demon bug's body squirmed as droplets of foul-smelling liquid were secreted out, which then elongated into the shape of spikes. 7 to 8 shadows flashed and stabbed at Gu Shan. Gu Shan didn't dare to touch this unknown venom, so she immediately used ground shrink and disappeared. The venomous thorns pierced into the black cliff, producing a tinkling sound. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The cliff was gradually corroded. Gu Shan raised an eyebrow. The cliff was the skeleton of the ancient monster, and its hardness was extraordinary. When it comes to the power of corrosion, I actually have it too, Gu Shan muttered as she took out a dark green longbow. The Dreamscape Soul Armament, the bow of fallen souls. The next moment, Gu Shan found that she had completely forgotten how to draw the bow. How could this be? He stared at the bow in his hand, but he didn't know how to use it. According to the information, a brain-eater demon bug can only seal a single ability. Could it be? Gu Shan turned around and saw that a new brain-eater demon bug had appeared next to the first one. This new brain-eater demon bug was nodding at him. So there were 2 brain-eater demon bugs. This was completely different from the information he received. The War God UI also gave him a timely reminder. Frowny face, the second brain-eater demon bug has taken away your ability to fight with a bow. In the blink of an eye, Gu Shan put the bow away and clenched her hand into a fist. Ethereal, Grand Mountain, Arg, dash, he roared and swung his fist, only to find that he couldn't throw it no matter how hard he tried. A line of glowing text quickly appeared in front of his eyes. Frowny face, the third brain-eater demon bug has taken away your ability to fight with a fist. At the same time, another colorful brain-eater demon bug appeared in front of Gu Shan. It was nodding at Gu Shan. Gu Shan's heart slowly sank. The information wasn't right. Or rather, there was a major error in the information. At the very next moment, countless poisonous stingers shot out from the 3 brain-eater demon bug bodies. Gu Shan's figure flashed, once again using ground shrink to get away. He took out the badge and quickly said, "Qin, there are 3. No for brain-eater demon bugs here, what?" Qin exclaimed in shock. A wave of noise. "Just hold on for a bit. I'll immediately request for reinforcements," she hurriedly said. Gu Shan put the badge away and looked at the 4 brain-eater demon bugs in front of her. No wonder all the hitmen she sent earlier died. 4 brain-eater demon bugs with 4 different fighting styles. A normal person wouldn't even be able to fight back and would have already been killed. On the other side, the 4th brain-eater demon bug stared at Gu Shan and silently waited, waiting to see if he could still do anything else. On the other hand, the other 3 brain-eater demon bugs were already heading towards Gu Shan. Ha! So they know how to cooperate, Gu Shan muttered and reached his hand into the void of space. The 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword appeared in his hand. As soon as the sword appeared, the 4th brain-eater demon bug nodded. But how could it move as fast as Gu Shan? The sword turned into a cold gleam that cut through the void of space and unleashed a torrential flood of sword phantoms. Secret art, Great Torrent. This strike was so fast that the 4th brain-eater demon bug didn't even have time to use deprivation, before it had already been executed. The overwhelming wave of sword phantoms engulfed the 3 brain eater demon bugs. Then the 4th brain eater demon bug was caught within. At the very last moment, the brain eater demon bug finally completed deprivation. Gu Qingshan's fighting style with the sword was also sealed. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The tidal wave of sword phantoms surged like a stampede of horses, flowing down the cliff like a majestic waterfall. As Gu Qingshan put her sword away, she felt even more alarmed. Elemental spells, fist techniques, archery, and swordsmanship were all taken away without any signs of being unsealed. In other words, none of the 4 brain eater demon bugs died. Strange, this is only a 3+ assassination mission. Why were the brain eater demon bugs able to stop my sword? In her spirit's sense, the shadow of death was getting closer and closer, causing her to feel suffocated. I can't wait any longer. Gu Qingshan immediately activated the world technique in her eye. Mystery Eye Technique, Fog Realm Descent. The fog descended from the void of space and enveloped Gu Qingshan. At the very last moment before she left, Gu Qingshan saw a strange creature. That creature looked like a human, but had 6 sharp legs, a muscular body, and a head full of long, horn-like hair. This creature was standing in front of the 4 brain eater demon bugs, completely stopping the sword phantoms. So it was it that stopped my full power attack. What is it? It looks like an evil creature. A thought flashed through Gu Qingshan's mind. A second later, he disappeared. Void City, the Hitman Guild. A few people had gathered in front of the 7th warp gate. So there were a total of 4 brain eater demon bugs. No wonder someone died last time, a long-haired man with a pair of blades on his back commented. Qin hurriedly said, "Sir, please hurry and save him. The hitman, codenamed Fear Fiend King, is most likely in grave danger," the long-haired man casually replied. "It's fine, he's a hitman that the old man personally gave him a codename. How could he die just like that?" "You." Qin's face flushed red. "What about me? A mere staff member like you wants to order me around?" The long-haired man narrowed his eyes. Gu Qingshan's voice suddenly resounded. "There's no need to trouble a responsible little girl like me." He appeared from the fog and pulled Qin behind him. The long-haired man looked at him in surprise. Everyone was looking at Gu Qingshan because his body was glowing with 4 faint layers of colorful light. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to notice it. The long-haired man said, "Ah, so he didn't die even after being hit by 4 layers of deprivation. Seems like I'll be able to keep my points." Gu Qingshan didn't understand, so she turned to Qin. Qin stuttered, "Fear Fiend King. The one standing in front of you is Sir Poison Bee, an unlivable rank hitman. He was the one who provided the information regarding the brain eater demon bugs this time." Gu Qingshan understood. "Poison Bee, your information was wrong. It almost got me killed," Gu Qingshan said. "It was just a small mistake. Didn't you return alive?" Poison Bee casually replied. Gu Qingshan's killing intent surged and grabbed the twin swords Heaven and Earth. Qin held him down and begged, "Please don't do that. Hitmen can't kill each other, otherwise the entire guild will hunt you down." Poison Bee crossed his arms. "Did you hear that? Brat, you can only blame your bad luck." Gu Qingshan slowly sheathed her swords and regained her calm. "There were 4 brain eater demon bugs on the other side. They weren't something I could deal with. Seems like you also ran away in fear of being found out. So you made up a piece of information to exchange for points. Or you had a grudge against the dead hitman from before, so you purposefully made up a fake piece of information and made him accept this mission," Gu Qingshan casually said. Poison Bee abruptly turned around. His sharp gaze fell on Gu Qingshan. "Did he find out about my matter?" "No, that can't be. He only joined the guild yesterday, and he has nothing to do with the dead hitman. There's no way he would know that much." Then, there's only one explanation for this. This Fear Fiend King guy's mind works way too quickly. "Youngster, think before you speak. This Poison Bee has never run away in fear, and I don't care to harm anyone," he casually said. Hearing that, Gu Qingshan silently recalled the incident with the brain eater demon bugs. Poison Bee's gaze fell on the 4 layers of light around Gu Qingshan's body and pondered. Gu Qing Shan glanced at him, then abruptly asked, "Unlivable hitman Poison Bee, do you think you can deal with 4 brain eater demon bugs?" Poison Bee's eyes flickered a bit, then suddenly smirked. 4 brain eater demon bugs are also worth 4 points. Very well, I'll show you the power of an unlivable hitman. He walked in front of the 7th warp gate and ordered, "Prepare the warp for this great one. This great one is going to chop up some vegetables." The staff quickly got to work and activated the warp gate. Poison Bee drew his blade and pointed it at Gu Qing Shan. "You'll soon find out, in the face of absolute power, information isn't that important." A flash of light. He was warped away. Puffed. Suddenly, a burst of laughter could be heard. At some unknown point, Melody was already standing behind everyone. There were a few other assassins who came with her. "I heard that 4 brain eater demon bugs had already used up their abilities. I didn't think Poison Bee would get them first," someone regretfully said. "I know. That's a good material. 4 brain eater demon bugs that have lost their abilities are already worth my time. Poison Bee sure is fast," the hitmen discussed among themselves. Melody looked at Gu Qing Shan and mocked. "Idiot. The brain eater demon bugs can only use deprivation on a single target. Since you've been hit with 4 layers of deprivation, Poison Bee will be able to directly harvest those 4 brain eater demon bugs this time. There's no need to worry about this deprivation ability, is that so? His wrong information killed a person and almost killed me. Such a person shouldn't have such a good ending," Gu Qing Shan casually said. As soon as she said that, a card in a staff member's hand suddenly turned black. The staff member shouted in shock, "Sir Poison Bee is dead." Everyone was shocked. "What's going on? Weren't there only 4 brain eater demon bugs?" Melody looked at Gu Qing Shan and asked. Gu Qing Shan replied, "There were indeed only 4 brain eater demon bugs that I fought against. I'm willing to take a lie detector test to prove my innocence. But what?" Someone couldn't help but ask. Gu Qing Shan displayed a sincere expression, then hesitantly said, "My previous battle caused quite a commotion. Perhaps something else was attracted to it." Mobile version of the fastest updated website. Chapter 1363. There were indeed 4 brain eater demon bugs inside the Void Storm Cavern. Poison Bee already knew this, and he also saw the 4 layers of deprivation on Gu Qing Shan's body. The brain eater demon bugs could only use this ability on a single person. In other words, now was the best time to kill the 4 demon bugs. So Poison Bee went. He was an unlivable rank hitman, so he was very confident in his abilities. He was dead. In front of the 7th warp gate, the hitmen stared at the jet black card in the staff member's hand, speechless. This was a life and death detection card, capable of sensing the life force of the person carrying out the mission. The card was originally pure white. Once it turned black, it represented death. An unlivable rank hitman was already an extremely powerful existence. Each of them represented the true strength of the Hitman Guild. "The situation is very serious. I have to report this to the guild right away," Qin said with a pale expression. She glanced at Gu Qing Shan and sent her voice. "It will be a titled rank hitman. Be careful." Gu Qing Shan nodded. Qin waved her hand, summoning a row of names from the void of space. Qin pointed at a certain name and said, "Intelligence Team Leader. I'm Qin. Something happened here." First came a female scream and laughter, followed by a lazy male voice. "What's the situation?" Qin blushed a bit, then braced herself and said, "The 3+ mission, the Brain Eater Demon Bug mission, has already lost 2 sealed hitmen and 1 unlivable hitman. Only 1 sealed hitman managed to escape by luck." The voice on the other side suddenly became louder. "What?" The void of space flashed. A topless black-haired man appeared in front of the 7th warp gate. He was extremely beautiful, even a bit bewitching. His body wasn't too muscular, but it was well-proportioned. He wore a pair of black pants, black leather shoes, as well as a slender rapier on his waist. When he appeared, he was holding a bottle of liquor in one hand, a verdant stalk of grass in the corner of his mouth, and a few faint lip marks on his cheeks. Based on his appearance and the woman's laughter just now, it was obvious that he was up to no good and had rushed over after receiving the news. The pretty man realized that everyone was looking at him, so he took out a black, wide-brimmed hat and put it on his head, pressing it down to cover the kiss marks on his face. "Tell me the details," he said. "Yes, Sir Crow," Cheen respectfully replied. She began to describe the entire process. After listening for a while, the pretty boy turned to look at Gu Qingshan. To be able to escape from the fourth stage of deprivation, "Someone, let me take a look at the video recording from before," he said. A staff member tossed out a card. The card turned into a projection in midair, showing the scene of Gu Qingshan accepting the mission and leaving. Then, Jean received a call for help, and Poison Bee rushed over. Venomous Bee was not in a hurry to save Cheen. Instead, he started a verbal conflict with Cheen. As the mist appeared, Gu Qingshan appeared. The two of them were talking. Poison Bee left. "Dead." The pretty boy slightly nodded, then looked at Gu Qingshan. "You have a mystery spatial technique. No wonder you were able to escape. Now I understand why the old man personally gave you a code name." He drew the thin rapier at his waist and muttered, "The Void Storm Cavern, the Brain-Eater Demon Bug should be nearby. I'll go take a look." Saying so, he walked towards the warp gate. "You don't need to go," Gu Qingshan abruptly said. Having reached Summer Lord Realm and having to deal with monsters who were countless times stronger than he was, Gu Qingshan's insight had already been honed. He only needed a single glance to know how powerful this pretty boy was. None of the hitmen here were as strong as this pretty boy. But compared to the monster that appeared in the Void Storm Cavern, both the pretty boy and Gu Qingshan were still far from being able to match up to him. There would only be a single outcome if they went: death. This wasn't just his insight, this was the feeling and perception that Gu Qingshan had trained while facing his enemies. Of course, Gu Qingshan was willing to let Poison Bee die, but he wasn't willing to harm unrelated people, especially since he could already see that outcome. The pretty boy's body stopped. Everyone's gaze became subtle. As soon as Gu Qingshan said that, everyone had already guessed that he was feeling guilty. Perhaps he was the one who set up Poison Bee. Otherwise, why didn't he let Sir Crow investigate the scene? Sure enough, the Fear Fiend is still a fiend that likes to harm people. "I don't need to go, why?" The pretty boy turned around and stared at Gu Qingshan. "For demon bugs, it's too dangerous," Gu Qingshan replied. "You think I'd be afraid of those things?" the pretty boy quickly asked. "Not really. When I was fighting them, I felt a bit panicked," Gu Qingshan slowly replied. "Panicked because of these 4 insects?" "No, I'm guessing it's something else." The pretty boy was a bit surprised, thought for a bit, then asked, "In battle, have you always trusted this natural instinct of yours?" "It's not natural, it's trained," Gu Qingshan replied. What do you train?" "I've stayed at the edge of death too many times, so I've gotten used to this instinct, so that's how it is." This might sound a bit strange, but coincidentally, I'm also an expert in communicating with death. The pretty boy wielded his rapier and circled around Gu Qingshan. "The presence of death in my name. Please let me see your bond with this person," he muttered. A black shadow flew out from the pretty boy's body, touched Gu Qingshan's body, then turned into a lingering halo of light. The black halo enveloped Gu Qingshan's body for a long time, unwilling to leave. "You are the feeder of the law of death. The law is always waiting for you to create death," the pretty boy muttered. He put his rapier away, casually took out 2 tall glasses from the void of space, filled them up, then gave one to Gu Qingshan while holding the other himself. "Cheers," the pretty boy declared. "For what?" Gu Qingshan asked. The pretty boy lowered his voice and whispered, "I've always found Poison Bee an eyesore, but the guild strictly forbids infighting. How lucky he died as soon as he stepped out today." Although this man called Crow had lowered his voice, who here was a normal person, everyone heard his words loud and clear. "Ah, an assassin like Poison Bee is dead. What a great loss to our Hitman Guild." The pretty boy laughed loudly, then downed a glass in one gulp. Everyone was speechless. Gu Qingshan raised the glass and took a sip. "This liquor is quite good." He raised the glass again and downed it. Cheen hurriedly asked, "Sir Crow, how exactly are we going to deal with this?" The pretty boy stopped laughing and replied, "I'm guessing that the person who issued the mission will soon find out about our situation here. If he's willing to increase the price, we'll continue to post this mission, but adjust it to a level that only titled hitmen can accept. But remember, No one is allowed to accept this mission. That poison bee serves him right for being unlucky. Understood. After giving his orders, the pretty boy patted Gu Qingshan's shoulder and said, "Let's have a drink another day." "All right," Gu Qingshan replied. The pretty boy's figure disappeared into the void of space, disappearing without a trace. This matter was concluded. Seeing that there was nothing else to do, the hitmen slowly dispersed. Melody glanced at Gu Qingshan with a complicated expression and muttered, "Fiend, it was you who killed Poison Bee." Gu Qingshan didn't deny it and asked, "Do you want to avenge him?" Melody shook his head. "I won't avenge him, but if I run into you during a large-scale joint guild mission, no hitman would trust you again. They have that right, and I believe that Crow isn't one of them," Gu Qingshan replied. Melody scoffed, turned around, and left. Gu Qingshan waited for a while longer until all the hitmen had left before he asked, "Qin, the reason why I failed this mission was because I received incorrect information. Just look, even a powerful hitman like Poison Bee died. I was already lucky enough to escape, so..." Dashi smiled and asked, "Can this failure be discounted?" Qin shook her head. "I'm sorry. A failure is a failure. If you want to advance to unsolvable rank, you'll have to complete 5 more consecutive 3-point missions." Seeing the disappointed expression on Gu Qingshan's face, she added, "However, the points you earned from the previous missions won't be deducted. You can use them to exchange for various items." "Then give me more missions," Gu Qingshan said. "That's impossible. Take a look at yourself." Qin pointed around his body. Gu Qingshan looked around, only to see that the 4 layers of deprive power were still present, giving off a colorful glow. "Ah, when will this thing disappear?" Gu Qingshan asked. "If those 4 brain-eater demon bugs don't retract their abilities, it'll take at least a day," Qin replied. Her expression suddenly turned serious. "You've now lost all 4 of your combat abilities. Make sure to be careful and don't leave the guild." Gu Qingshan sighed. "I originally wanted to advance as soon as possible so that I could accept the Wraith Realm mission, but it seems I'll have to wait for another day. All right, I'll go back to the lounge to sleep for the day. See you tomorrow." "See you tomorrow." As Gu Qingshan was about to leave, he suddenly heard Qin exclaim in surprise. "What is it?" Gu Qingshan asked. "It's nothing. For the previous Brain-Eater Demon Bug mission, I was about to contact the client to ask if they wanted to increase the price. But the client didn't wait for me to say anything and directly increased the reward by 30 times, Qin said in confusion. 30 times, Gu Qingshan repeated. "That's right, 30 times, just enough to hire a titled hitman. Seems like I'll have to increase this mission's rank to 10 right away." While saying so, Qin began to operate the mission UI in the void of space. Level 10 to 12 missions were the missions that a titled hitman could accept. After staying silent for a bit, Gu Qingshan turned around and quickly left. He didn't return to the lounge and instead went straight to the intelligence department. "I want to exchange some information," he told the staff. After verifying his badge, the staff gave him a scepter and led him into a small room. "You only need to use telepathy to transmit the information you want to the scepter. It will respond accordingly," the staff explained. "Thank you," Gu Qingshan said. The staff closed the door behind him and left. Gu Qingshan held the scepter, silently thinking about the appearance of the monster in the Void Storm Cavern. 6 long, sharp legs, a muscular body, a head full of long, horn-like hair, humanoid appearance. "Tell me, what is this?" Gu Qingshan sent telepathy to the scepter. Very quickly, a thought was transmitted from the scepter frowny face. "This information can only be viewed with the following conditions. Titled Hitman, 300 points, Guild Master's permission. Fear Fiend King. You do not have the authority to receive this information." Mobile version of the fastest updated website. Chapter 1364. What a high requirement. Gu Qingshan silently sighed. This meant 2 things. Firstly, that monster's background definitely isn't simple, not something a normal person could understand. Secondly, Crow is truly a smart person. An hitman of his level would never treat a mission lightly, so he must have already learned everything about the Void Storm Caverns before coming here. In other words, Crow most likely knows what that monster is. But he didn't know that monster would appear, so he prepared to take a look. As soon as I reminded him, Crow immediately became cautious. His reaction was very fast, and he immediately began to examine his own judgment. After that, he immediately stopped going, and instead, he invited himself for a drink. This means once Crow runs into that monster, he would only be able to die. Crow himself understood this very well. So he left without any hesitation, also erasing the matter of Poison Bee's death as thanks for Gu Qingshan's warning. Gu Qingshan was a bit disinterested. Truthfully, the Hitman Guild's matters are secondary. The most important thing right now is to find a way to infiltrate the Wraith Realm. At this point, a new thought came from a Scepter frowny face. Is there anything else you want to know about the Voidstorm Caverns? No need. Do you have any information about the Wraith Realm? Yes, information about the Wraith Realm is divided into 4 categories. Basic information is worth 4 points, medium information is worth 10 points, high information is worth 50 points, and top secret information is worth 100 points. So expensive, but I can't fight right now, nor can I accept any missions. Gu Qingshan stood up and left the room. He headed straight for the Hitman Guild's lounge, then stopped halfway. TCH, with how precious time is, it's not a good idea to just waste it like this. After a bit of hesitation, Gu Qingshan turned around and headed for the Hitman Guild's main hall. Gongzi, you're going out? Shanu silently asked. This place is a business city recognized by various monsters and races within the space vortex, so it must be incredibly prosperous. I want to try and gather some information about the Wraith Realm, Gu Qingshan replied. But Gongzi's fighting style has been taken away. Wouldn't that be too dangerous? Shanu worriedly asked. It's fine. It's already dark. I can use my Sumeru thaumaturgy, Gu Qingshan replied. Luo Bingli's voice abruptly came. Don't be careless. Even if you can turn into an orange cat, if you run into a sudden battle, you won't be able to use your sword to block. And if you're caught in the crossfire, it'll be a huge problem, the Earth Sword also agreed. That's right, there are too many powerful fellows in this void city. You won't be able to fight for a day, so it's best to be careful, the Chao Yin sword buzzed. Gu Qingshan said helplessly, but I don't want to go back to sleep. Gongzi, let me think of a way to temporarily stay close to you and protect you, Shanu suggested. You've been following me. Isn't that enough? Gu Qingshan asked curiously. Safety first, the 4 swords said in unison. After a short while, the 2 orange cats left the Hitman Guild. Under the shroud of night, no one was able to notice these 2 orange cats. Only their triumphant woo-woo noises could be heard occasionally from the void of space. Orange Sovereign, ghostly shadow of night, flawless jade. Gu Qingshan and Shanu turned into orange cats, quickly traversed the streets one after the other, and climbed up a tall building. As far as the eye could see, the entire city was bustling with activity, as if it was a city that never sleeps. The Iron Curtain, like city walls, stood at the very end of the sky. Occasionally, giant airships would approach it to transport various goods. Sometimes it wasn't just airships. Gu Qingshan saw a giant claw the size of a mountain carefully placing a few items on top of the city walls. Fortunately, the human form was widely recognized as the best way to communicate, so every race and void monster would silently abide by this rule when doing business with each other. Otherwise, this city would already be filled with strange and unusual creatures. There might even be some monsters that couldn't enter this world because their true forms were too large. A few moments later, the city abruptly became bright. A group of angels singing a hymn used iron chains to tie up a black figure, then flew straight up into the sky and disappeared into the night. Under the illumination of the holy light, the 2 cats couldn't help but stare blankly. What the hell? So there are actually creatures like angels outside of the 900 million world layers. They're probably not a species brought over from a parallel world by the bygone-era humans, and their potential wasn't restricted by the divine race during the creation of the world. How strong are they? Gu Qingshan noticed that although various battles often broke out in the city, no one dared to provoke the angels as they appeared and left. The entire void city remained silent. After a while, the bustling city once again returned to its original state. The 2 cats also regained their senses. Meow, 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 Shano asked. Gu Shan looked around in the darkness, then pointed his paw at a certain direction. Meow, 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 he said. Meow, Shannon nodded. The two cats leapt into the air, quickly sprinting through the air, then quickly landed on a particularly lively street. Gu Shan found the bar with great familiarity and stealthily led the cat there. This was the place where Gu Shan stayed for a short while when he first arrived at Void City. He asked around here for a bit of information and even saw a Wraith Realm individual. But at the time, he had only just arrived and didn't know anything. So the most important thing to consider was his identity, so he didn't pay much attention to that Wraith Realm individual. At this point, the bar still didn't have a lot of customers. Gu Shan and Shanu crouched down in a corner of the bar, observing the few customers. There weren't many customers, and quite a few of them were clearly void monsters. Because while they could take human form, they either had extra arms or extra heads. As long as they had extra limbs, they would basically be void monsters, as they weren't used to the feeling of having 2 hands and 2 feet. As for the void race, they could transform into human form, leaving behind only some special racial characteristics. For example, the elemental elf race's figure was very slim, and there was a faint elemental light following them. The 2 orange cats looked around and found that there were 5 void monsters. 3 of them were foreign races, and only a young girl who seemed to be human. However, this young girl was drunk. She was lying on the table with her face in her arms. It was impossible to see if there was anything special about her face. The orange cat looked at the girl, a bit doubtful. However, the other party seemed to be asleep and did not move. The orange cat pulled his gaze back and silently listened to the chatter of the customers. The goods are finally ready. Come, let's have a toast. Calm. Do you have any news about the monster in the east? If there is, I'll pay 300 void gold coins. Give me today's newspaper, mate. What? That world was eaten by the void monster? Which monster was it? Tell me about it. Maybe it's someone I know. At this point, the bar's door was pushed open. A woman with a pair of horns on her head and revealing clothes walked up to the bar counter with a robust man. Give me a glass of flame desire. The woman blew into the robust man's ear and said, 2 glasses more after that. I have money. The robust man generously tossed out a few coins. The bartender quickly served them their drinks. The woman bit the robust man's ear and whispered, Which race are you exactly? The robust man smirked and replied, You'll know when it's night time. In a corner of the bar, one of the orange cats appeared confused and looked at the other orange cat. Gongzi, why would she know the other party's race when it's night time? The other orange cat tried his best to maintain a cold expression and solemnly sent his voice. Their killing intent is very heavy, so they'll fight tonight. Hearing that, the orange cat from before finally realized. All of a sudden, laughter resounded in the bar. Why wait until nighttime? Let me tell you, one of you is a human from the Wraith Realm who wants to capture a true evil creature to report back to the Wraith Realm, while the other is a fiendess who had just escaped from the angel's search. She's still in a state of shock, but she took the opportunity to be afflicted with a Wraith talisman, so she'll most likely be captured without a fight. Everyone turned to look, only to see a drunken girl lying on the table with a few empty bottles of liquor in front of her. She was the one who spoke just now. She had only just lifted her head, lightly rubbing her sleepy eyes. Evildoer, you dare to interfere in my business. Saying so, as soon as the robust man's killing intent rose, someone lightly tapped his shoulder. The bartender stood behind the bar counter and pulled his hand back. While wiping the table, the bartender casually said, Sir, please do not fight in this bar. Otherwise, no one will be able to protect you. The robust man endured for a while, then reluctantly replied, Of course I know that the fiendess next to him had already silently moved away from him, taking out 5 gold coins from her chest pocket and placing them on the bar counter. Give me another glass, she said. Very well. What would you like to drink? The bartender asked. Baptism, that glass of liquor can indeed dispel the curse on your body. But you don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. Can I buy it on credit? The fiendess begged. I'm sorry. I can't, the bartender regretfully replied. The fiendish body began to tremble. The wraith's curse had begun to take effect. In a corner, an orange cat looked at another orange cat. The orange cat shook his head, then focused his gaze on the drunken girl with a nostalgic expression. Time has passed so quickly. It really has been a long time since we last met. I should be thanking her. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been able to come into contact with the 900 million world layers and get to know people like Bali and Meow. I wouldn't have improved so quickly. The girl muttered something and drew a card from the void of space. The fiendess over there, listen carefully. I have a lot of cards that can dispel curses. Give me your coins. I'll dispel it for you. Saying so, the girl slowly sat up straight. She showed the card to the fiendess. This card deck, so was you. The fiendess was overjoyed, hurriedly rushed in front of her with the coins and knelt down. Your Grace, I beg you, please save me. The girl tossed the card to the fiendess and took the coins. Don't worry. I'm the type of person who hates seeing women being bullied by men the most. Buttercup stroked the fiendess' head and softly told her. Chapter 1365. The fiendess held the card like it was a precious treasure. A pure black light was drawn on the card, surrounded by people wearing priest robes, dancing and singing around the black light. The fiendess lightly placed the card on her forehead. The card then scattered into a cluster of black light that enveloped her. A few moments later, the black light disappeared. The fiendess was breathing heavily, kneeling on the ground, letting the faint chanting around her body. The horns on her head became longer and more curved. Her skin became snow white, and a heavy shadow loomed behind her back. The fiendess slowly stood up, giving off an indescribable sense of allure. Thank you, madam. The fiendess bowed to Buttercup and joyfully thanked her. Not only was the hex dispelled, but she also seemed to be completely different from before. No need to be so polite. You were already about to advance. My card simply pushed the time forward a bit. While saying that, Buttercup signaled the fiendess with her eyes. Why aren't you leaving? The fiendess understood, bowed again, and hurriedly left the bar. The robust man wanted to follow her, but on the way, he accidentally tripped and fell. He struggled for a long while before he managed to stand up. It's you. You dare to interfere with our Wraith Realm's matters again and again. The robust man glared at Buttercup. Buttercup didn't look at him, instead poured herself a glass of liquor and slowly sipped it like nothing had happened. The robust man retreated to one side, took out a talisman, and muttered, Mission failed, because someone tried to stop me. That's right, I'm at the bar. Someone save that fiendess from the bar. The talisman turned into a streak of flame and flew out of the bar. At this point, not only did the other customers in the bar not leave, they all appear to be waiting for a good show. Not too long later, the bar's door was pushed open. In the cold wind, several people wearing Yiksha masks entered the bar. Madam, the robust man hurriedly came forward. Who stopped you? The leader of the group asked. The robust man pointed at Buttercup. As the man looked at Buttercup, his cold, killing intent slowly disappeared. He stood where he was without saying a word, as if he had fallen into an embarrassing predicament. Buttercup smiled silently and said, What? The deal hasn't been completed yet, and you're already planning to attack us? Hearing this, the man finally moved his feet and walked in front of Buttercup. He took off the Iksham mask, revealing an old face full of wrinkles. He said respectfully, Forgive me for my offense. I naturally wouldn't dare to offend you, Lady Di. It's just that this is my subordinate's first time coming to Void City for business. He had eyes but failed to see. Please forgive him, Lady Di. Let's go. Just don't disturb my drinking, Buttercup said. Understood. We'll go now. The old man bowed and left with his subordinates. A conflict was resolved without a trace. The guests saw that there was nothing to see, so they stopped paying attention to Buttercup and went to discuss their own matters. The bar regained its peace. In a corner, the two orange cats silently watched this. Gongzi, Buttercup seems to be very powerful right now, Shanna whispered. She's always been powerful, very powerful, Gu Qingshan replied. To be honest, I still owe her my life. Back then, the Rakshasa world had already been completely taken over by another world, but neither I nor the white fox knew about it. If I followed the white fox to the Rakshasa world, I would have most likely died. Buttercup saved my life in exchange for me delivering flowers to Bali. It was because of this that I had the chance to come into contact with the 900 million world layers, get to know Bali and Meow, join the Justice Iron Fist Club, travel to a bull, and finally save Lola. Who would have thought that after so long, when I traveled through space-time to go to the Wraith Realm, I would run into her again in a void city near the Wraith Realm? All of a sudden, Buttercup seemed to have sensed something as her drunken eyes suddenly opened wide. She looked at a corner of the bar, her gaze focused on the void of space. "Ah, I remember now. You're Gu Qing Shan. Why are you here?" Buttercup asked in surprise. Her actions once again drew the attention of the other customers. Even the bartenders behind the counter showed a curious look. Everyone looked towards the corner of the bar, some even using scrying techniques. But they couldn't find anything. The corner of the bar was empty. Gu Qing Shan knew that Buttercup had sensed him, so after a bit of hesitation, he dispelled Orange Sovereign Transformation and walked out from the corner of the bar. Shanu was still in orange cat form, sitting on a shoulder and cautiously observing their surroundings. "Long time no see," Gu Qing Shan smiled and said. Suppressed gasps of surprise resounded all around. So there really was someone in the corner. Buttercup observed Gu Qing Shan and said, "I've heard quite a bit about you recently. How are the others?" Gu Qing Shan's mind moved. Obviously, for the sake of caution, the other party didn't mention Bali and Meow's names in this kind of situation. This was to protect Bali and Meow. "They're fine, but a lot has happened recently, so it's not a good place to talk about it," Gu Qing Shan replied. Buttercup stood up and happily said, "It really has been a long time, come. Let's go to my place. We can talk while drinking. I remember you're quite a good drinker, then I'll have to trouble you," Gu Qing Shan smiled. With Buttercup walking in front and Gu Qing Shan following behind, the two of them left the bar. They passed through several streets, made several turns, and finally arrived at a residential area. "It's over there," Buttercup pointed in front of her and said. Gu Qing Shan looked over, only to see a small house made of red bricks on the other side of the street, surrounded by a wooden fence with a bunch of fresh flowers planted inside. Several large trees surrounded the house, forming a green shade. From afar, among the rows of residential houses, this red brick house seemed exceptionally quiet. "Not a bad place," Gu Qing Shan praised. "Is that so? How long have you been here?" Buttercup asked. 2 days, Gu Qing Shan replied. Hearing that, Buttercup let out an indecipherable laugh. She brought Gu Qing Shan across the street and arrived at the door of the house. A large gray dog was sleeping soundly in front of the house, not even bothering to look up when they passed by. As Gu Qing Shan sat down in the living room, Buttercup went to brew some tea. A few moments later, the tea was ready. "Thank you." Gu Qing Shan received the tea, took a sip, then began to tell her what happened in the 900 million world layers. It took him about half an hour to tell her everything that happened. Halfway through, Buttercup asked a few questions, and Gu Qing Shan told her everything she knew. Who would have thought so many things would happen? And here I thought the 900 million world layers was a safe and stable place. Buttercup sighed emotionally. Recalling what happened in the past, Gu Qing Shan sincerely thanked her. "Thank you for saving me back then and sending me to the 900 million world layers." Buttercup waved her hand dismissively. "No need to be so formal. I saw everything you did in the suspended world and felt that you were worthy of my help, so I did what I did. I'm actually glad that you joined the Justice Iron Fist Club. Why did you leave the 900 million world layers and come to Void City?" Gu Qing Shan curiously asked. "I know the 900 million world layers too well. The 900 million world layers is a man-made world with natural flaws in its laws. It's right next to the terrifying eternal abyss, as well as a place where apocalypses frequently occur. Occasionally, traces of order and chaos can be seen. All of them are related to a particularly powerful entity. So from the perspective of the many races of the void, not only is the 900 million world layers weak and impoverished, it's also filled with so many conflicts that no one is willing to go there at this point." The smile on Buttercup's face dimmed a bit. She sighed and continued. My child and I have both become monsters, so I don't want him to grow up by killing and devouring living beings. So I brought him to the endless void to try my luck, to see if I could find a way to help him maintain a normal life. Gu Shan paused briefly, then pondered. I do have a weapon from the eternal abyss that can reverse time. Would that be able to help you? Sensing his goodwill, Buttercup smiled and poured him another cup of tea, then slowly replied, It won't work. When I was giving birth, I was surrounded and attacked by those people, causing my child to only live for a few breaths worth of time after he was born. At the very last moment, I used an extremely secret method to turn my child into a demon, then linked my own soul to his soul, taking on half of his death for him to return to life. Even if you were to reverse time, my child and I would still be in the same state. Nothing would change. Furthermore, he is already slowly growing up, even if you were to make me return to the state I was when I was pregnant. He wouldn't be able to return either, and there's no telling what would happen at that point. Hearing that, Gu Shan couldn't help but go silent. Indeed, there are many times when returning to the past isn't the only way to solve everything. Some people's fate is already destined to be a tragedy from the very beginning, but there's no telling where they would end up. Gu Shan cautiously asked, Where's your child? Why can't I see him? Buttercup replied, He's at school. They're boarding students. They only come back on the weekends. Gu Shan was a bit surprised, then relaxed. He couldn't help but sigh in relief, then took a sip from his cup of tea. Observing his reaction, Buttercup smiled. Gu Shan leaned back on his chair and casually said, Void City accepts all existences, so you decided to settle down here? That's right. We're living quite well right now. Buttercup raised her cup of tea with a bright look in her eyes. Ah, right, I'm confident that my concealment technique is quite good. Just now at the bar, how did you notice me? Gu Shan curiously asked. I left a mark on your body, so I sensed it, Buttercup replied. So that's how it is. Gu Shan was surprised. Buttercup continued. You're a meticulous person with a good eye for detail, not to mention your talents. I guess that you might have a chance to leave the 900 million world layers and venture into the endless space vortex. So, I left that mark on you. She reached her finger out and lightly tapped Gu Shan's chest. A cluster of light flickered briefly on Gu Shan's chest before disappearing again. Each person can only use this mark once in their life. If you're killed by something, this mark will allow your soul and flesh to return to Void City and resurrect, Buttercup muttered. That's impressive. I really can't take it anymore. You're a woman with a child. You should have kept it for yourself. Gu Shan was moved. It's fine. You're too young, too weak. You need it more than I do. Buttercup waved her hand dismissively. Gu Shan's heart felt heavy. In the end, Buttercup met up with Bali's group. To thank me, she gave me such a precious gift. Buttercup appeared nostalgic and replied, Because my child and I were too unique when we were about to leave the suspended world, I had already received an invitation, and the gift they gave me was this mark. Gu Shan asked, Wait a minute, you're now part of an organization? Buttercup answered matter-of-factly. That's right, I'm currently a full-time teacher in the ominous Demon Tower, responsible for teaching soul-devouring and world-eaters, right? My son is also studying their Gu Shan, that you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.